there is a build. We had a Tuesday build for a change. What's up, Lily? We had a Tuesday build for a change, so we're going to take a look at that. I've been taking kind of a look, but mostly reacting to some of the notes and other things as we tried to test stuff. Like I tried to do like a quick sort of like quick fire of stuff on Twitter of things that I've been finding, like what happens when you complete the weekly quest. You get stuff, obviously. Some of it's cool. Where the hell is Cosmic Flux? I still don't know. I still don't know what the whole process is for making tier sets and stuff like that. But yeah, Wowhead had broke down a bunch of stuff. There was drama to be had. We're going to talk about that, of course, because that's how you make the money, right? So yeah, how you guys doing? Aside from Rye, I know how you're doing. Fuck, man. Last night we were trying to do Heroic Sylvanas so we can get a guild achievement because we didn't kill it as a full, if there were too many pugs, too few guildmates, whatever you want to say it. So I was we had one poll where 49.67 we wiped at that, and it sucks because I died early in the final phase, and I was pissed because I'm like just trying to run my debuffs back. It was that thing as the tank, and I just didn't have enough juice. I was pissed. I was my kind of pissed, which is like Soul never gets mad about anything, so whatever. Drixie, oh look at you are balling as gangsta shit. Okay, thank you very much, Drixie. I am so sorry that the sound doesn't work again. Why does it? Why? Today's Wednesday, so usually it's like kind of my more free day to work. It's not really a free day, but I don't have a raid. That's not my raid night. However, at the start of our usual raid time, I'm going to try to blast keys with some guildmates. So I'm going to have kind of a hectic day as usual. But again, thank you, Drixie. I'm going to keep trying to work on making the stream shit work right. Like I want to do that. Make the sound work first and foremost. But I'd love to do some of the extra stuff. Like people want a bob face as a channel point redeem thing, and that might be fun. Hey, Alpha, how you doing, dude? But so yesterday we had a build, and it was almost everything that I hoped for because it answers a bunch of questions. It fills in a lot of gaps. The only things that were left to really test out are one, the feature or whatever it is, the system. Notice that I don't really say system anymore. I almost always call it a feature. The feature that helps you make tier gear out of nothing. It turns water into wine. That sort of thing. As well as like the cosmic flux that drops. I tried doing. So yesterday, someone pointed out that Ardenweald is like, in terms of Covenant Callings, it's Yahtzee. And you just go to Ardenweald, you do a couple quests, and then you knock out a bunch of shit, which is like fantastic. So I did that on PTR, and my dumbass didn't do it on live. So I'm like, oh, there goes like a couple thousand gold and et ceteras. Great. Brilliant. You got affiliate. Oh, you got affiliate. Nice, Alpha. Very good for you, dude. Very good for you, dude. And when I turned in those callings, I was like, yeah, let's get it. Let's get all that cosmic flux all over my face. It never dropped. I didn't get any drops. I did the weekly quest for Zereth Mortis. No cosmic flux. Did the world quest, did the dailies, no flux given. Clever, huh? But yeah, I didn't get any of that stuff. I was kind of, it's kind of doo-doo butter. But well, that's testing. But that's what I found. That's what I had found so far. The weekly quest is actually not very difficult to do. And one thing that I wanted to also start kind of thinking of doing, how there is a You know how before during 9.1 content, I had a shitty little jingle each week. It's like, well, da 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 da, that thing. I want to write another one for funsies. It's been on the back of my mind. And so now that we have most of the pieces together as to like how this whole flow will go, I want to do another little jingle thing. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be so great. It's going to go viral. I'm going to be a YouTube billionaire. It'll be fun. Have I been playing Fortune Online lately? No, I haven't, because there's just been other stuff to check out. And I put out a really awful video where I gave opinions. But yeah, the long and short of it, Alpha, is that I'm pretty much playing it only for the story. The end game content, the side content, didn't quite grab me. So I'm gonna wait until like the last major content patch comes out, and then I'm gonna come back, slam the story again, and just enjoy it. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much going to be how I digest 14. Until, of course, if my interest happens to go, hey, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. I'll go ahead and definitely do it. The door's not closed. It's just that right now, I'm not interested in walking through. That's all that is. But anyway, back to Peter stuff. There was a ton of drama over the legendary thingamajigger that I'm sure some of you have heard about it or whatever. There's a new legendary belt. There's a new legendary memory. That's of course account wide. All of your alts and whatever can craft this legendary in whatever slot you like. I like that. I think that's great. You can make it for pretty much everything except for trinkets. So it's a totally malleable legendary, crafted anywhere, cool stuff. However, there is a reputation requirement. Many of us had mistakenly believed that in some interview, designer Morgan Day said, "Oh yeah, doing Zereth Mortis stuff. There's not going to be any player power attached to it." That is, technically, if you really listen to the interview and look at, read the words and stuff, you could see how there's kind of an out for that. But more importantly, there was an interview with John Haidt, the executive producer, who said that, he said this in November, that, oh yeah, there's going to be a rep grind for the legendary. Yep. It's a little vague because it was on it was an interview with a Chinese website, and it was covered on Wowhead and everything. It's just that it was easy to miss because Wowhead didn't do its usual thing where it takes an interview or it takes a news thing and then it breaks it down into at least several blog posts, which is fine. That's the business. All right. I just like to poke fun at it every now and then because sometimes I think it's silly. However, in this case, this justifies Wowhead's sort of coverage. Because they could have and probably should have, in hindsight, of course, made a headline talking about the critical thing. Oh, there's going to be a rep grind behind it. And if we knew that before, then okay. Then we wouldn't have this kind of conflicting, well, they promised, that sort of thing, that sort of narrative. And it's hard to close that box at this point, even if Blizzard did cover their ass and they did say something. Fault is not the kind of thing I want to throw around in that vein of conversation. But yeah, people are just pissed. I put out a video where I talked about that. I think the first thing I talked about was the whole legendary rep grind thing, because while they did say, yes, there's going to be a rep grind behind it, we didn't know how hard that grind was going to be. Getting to revered is, getting to revered. Number of weeks, whatever. I still feel like that's a bit too long. I still feel like, given that there's both a legendary thing that you get and a memory that lets you customize it, I don't think it would be so unreasonable to have the belt be something that we can easily access, whether it's, low or no rep requirement, a quest reward early on, something like that, just so that we could have it early, but have the memory, the ability for us to move this legendary to whatever slot we feel like. Let that be something that we work towards. So, give us both is what I'm sort of saying. It's kind of like, and it's kind of like a Blizzard MO, right? Where we get a thing and we get it right away, but then we're like, it's not good enough, Blizz. Why can't we just get a memory that lets us, have it anywhere? And then months down the line, Blizzard's like, okay, fine, we grant you this memory, praise us. And then we're like, too little, too late, Blizzard, blah, blah, blah. So if they did that now, aren't we just kind of fast forwarding the fix or whatever? Like, I'd say, I feel like if they implement it like that, then there would be a lot less over it. I'm sure people are manufacturing their own anger by saying, well, we were left with this impression this whole time and blah, blah, blah. Blizz. And it's hard to, I think it's hard for folks to get them to kind of pull themselves out of that because, well, for their own reasons. I'm thinking it's because they like being angry, but whatever. You're waiting for the game to be available for new players. That's right. They still suspended sales for it, right? Didn't I cover that after that interview came out? The Chinese one, no, I don't believe so. I think I covered the Morgan Day one. We're doing a roulette. I am logged on to the Peter right now, so I think I can manage that. I'll try to remember. Good luck, so good luck remembering that shit. Ugh. By the way, if you use Twitter, this is me. It's probably because of my feed. If you use Twitter, don't click on any actors' names, any of them, because there's a chance that you might get spoiled for something. That pisses me off. I'm usually really good about avoiding spoilers, but then I saw like some celebrity name trending, and I was like, "Oh my god, did they pass away?" Because that's kind of the doom scroll that we do these days. I click, and I was like, "Okay, cool. They're not oh my god, spoiler!" So be careful on social media. Fuck. Now I'm going to be kind of now the impression that's going to be left on me that every celebrity that I see is going to be involved in some sort of spoiler for a show that I watch. So if I see something like Tom Hanks, I'll be like, oh my god, Tom Hanks is in a Marvel movie. Fuck! Just by looking at the name. Oh yeah. See, I'll totally like PTSD myself into that sort of stuff. What's up, Baz? Tails just can't get back into 14. It's way too boring for me. We had a very brief conversation with guildmates about 14. I think someone just brought it up, and someone brought up, oh yeah, something free trial. And I know that I think new accounts are being suspended still, but some of us chimed in like, it's kind of boring and blah 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 and all that. It's kind of sobering and nice to see just kind of like to see just kind of chill and laid back remarks about the game, because I'm used to seeing, what the fuck's wrong with you? How dare you not like it? Look at all these problems that the game has because it's so successful. Like that's great, dude. Okay. Might be 1 to 2 months before they open up for new players. That's cool. I mean, that's a shame. That's a shame too, because it's like the money. But I would figure that. So I'll do one last thing on 14 because this is super speculative and it means like pretty much nothing. So, anyone who reacts strongly to this, it's your fault. I would figure that that the folks at 14, or the Square folks, would make like kind of a hard decision and be like, you know what, fuck it, we'll make more money if we just pay super gougy premium for the things that we need in order to house more players. Now they made that decision like a while ago. A good while ago. They can't make that decision now, even if they wanted to, because it's not going to be very effective, because we're like a little over a month after the launch of the game. So it wouldn't have been effective. In hindsight, I'm wondering if some suit over there is like kicking themselves and be like, fuck, we should have just spent the money. Because yeah, cool, we're making good money, but man, it would have been even better if we like bought, invested the money into servers and blah, 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 and then sold that shit later when, once populations started to like die down and stuff, because it will, just like anything. After a month, queues are still there for sure, but queues are better, I hear, because one, they improve their processes and their infrastructure and all that stuff to make the queues better, and then two, people just stop playing for whatever reason that they feel like, whether they tried it out and got bored, or they got tired of the queues and they just stopped queuing up, or they finished the MSQ and they're like, okay, cool, I'll come back later when it's when I feel like it. Whatever. And that's the sucky reality of it, is that in the instance of games, such as 14, New World had experienced this. WoW has had tons of experience with this too, is when they launch a new thing, new game, new expansion, there's like this overwhelming, like, oh my God, a huge hug of traffic that these companies need to figure out a way how to handle by spending as little money as possible. So Square went the route of don't spend the money, do other things. And it probably was a smart move to make, because I don't know how much more, if the Square team had sourced the things that they needed from other places and would have paid a shitload more money, how much more of a shitload would it have been? How much money would they have risked? So they don't want to take that risk. Well, that's fine. Especially knowing that there's going to be like, kind of like, you have your peaks and valleys. I'd like to think that, along with the peaks and valleys, that there's kind of like this big influx of players too. That's great. But I don't know. I guess it's like, how long can they sustain that until it feels like they're expending some of their goodwill, because they're being cheap about it. And in my opinion, yeah, they can be cheap about some things, in terms of like some quality of life stuff. They typically don't invest into big overhauls of their infrastructure and features and stuff like that. And by that, I'm talking about like the menu-based stuff. Some of that still feels like clunky is not the word. It's not a word I ever like using, but I can't think of anything else right now. Different sorts of investments that they should just put out more mounts. So yeah, you want more servers, right? We're going to put out hella mounts. That'll pay for it. Brilliant. We'll pretty much get that shit for free. Yeah, that actually should have been what I led off with. Here's what Square should have done. They should have just put out like 10 mounts. Let the whales pick them up, buy servers. Everyone's happy. Except for the people who like making drama over mounts in a shop, because even they have to deal with that. Oh my god, a new mount. Rebel. But yeah. Let's see if we're going to get news on that. I thought they released a statement saying they couldn't even invest money even if they want to because there is a shortage of chips. I have a feeling that there's that they could have paid a premium to get that's kind of what I'm implying. That there was a way, but in order to do that, they would need to like outbid, basically. And not anyone can do that. Or not everyone can do that. They probably decided, no, it's not worth it. And that's fine. That's the decision they made. Obviously, that's what they said. They did say that there's a shortage of, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. But when there's a shortage of supply, there's, the reality is that it's two things. One, there's literally nothing being made, which I don't believe, I'm pretty sure is not true. It's just more that someone is paying more for the thing than they want to pay for, and that's it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was more than that. and still, I still think they made the best decision. So, I don't mean to, this isn't me trying to bash, but this is, these are the kinds of decisions that these companies need to make. That's all. I can't get into the story of 14. It just doesn't click for me. Neither does Elder Scrolls Online. I don't think I gave Guild Wars 2 much of a chance yet. I was just kind of like trying to get into the gameplay feel of it. The way the story presents itself, though, it feels dated to me. So I don't know if Guild Wars 2 is going to pull me in for its story, because it doesn't quite like, wow, this is fascinating. I want to learn more about this. That didn't quite get me. I still haven't tried a ESO. Am I into the story of WoW? To be honest, not hugely. No, I was never super attached to it. Like I'm fast, I get fascinated by the beats and the moment and stuff like that. But for people who try to critique me over like, OMG, you didn't like 14 story well enough, but you like WoW? Nah, that's not the comparison that I'm trying to make. This is not a I like WoW's I like the Warcraft story more than 14. To be fair, Warcraft cheated because I played through the RTS games. So that provided the sort of foundation. So when the MMO was coming out, I was like, oh, I'm kind of familiar with that. I'm fascinated. Okay, let's get into this. And not all MMOs can do that, obviously. So that's why I think when the Riot MMO comes out, that's going to get a huge following because established lore. They have the game. They recently did the animated series, which I still haven't watched yet because I'm a dirty sinner. But that's because I tried out the game and I'm like, oh, not for me, dude. So the MMO, while it's something that I'll probably check out and see how it looks and feels, and I'll try to be on top of the news for that one. So far, I'm kind of like, my interest is very tepid because because I didn't really play through the game or get into the lore or things like that. Who knows? Maybe after watching Arcane, I'll be like, oh my God, I must play the MMO. And then, that could be it. But my fascination for WoW's story does not equate to, I like it more than another thing. That's not the takeaway that I want people to walk away with. You guys have seen my gutter analysis of stuff, and reactions and things like that. But narrative wise, I think WoW's story and the way that they tell it is like super flawed. I do like their books, which is, which some people turn into a critique. Well, why don't they put that same effort into the game? Which is fair. I think that's a very fair critique to make. And I would love to see, it'd be cool to see the Warcraft story take that more narrative approach and go a little bit slower. I would also like to see the order of things and just the way that certain beats are handled to be handled with a more careful touch. It feels really disjointed, disorganized, oftentimes messy. I'm not going to talk about the end of Shadowlands because I'd rather wait until we really sit down and play through it live. Doing the trying to rate the story from based on test stuff. That's cringe. That's a dumb thing to do. But yeah, WoW's story has been okay enough. It's not the thing that draws me. It's not the thing that draws me in these days. It's definitely not that. For me, WoW has been about the social aspect, as in my guild and all that, as well as the expression of it in game with the world itself. Not exactly the story, but just like putting myself into that world feels cool and fun. And I'm going to try to use this term more often because I feel like this is kind of an angle that I'm shifting to. WoW gives you that WoW has a path towards this kind of power fantasy. If you haven't noticed, this kind of like path to where you can feel like really unstoppable out there in the world. Not so much in instances, but you can definitely celebrate yourself with the way you can express yourself. Okay, cool. I'm gonna tank with healing trinkets and focus on just healing and do that, and I'm gonna make that work. And sometimes you can, or at least I can. But that's where you get that mix of the social aspect. It's like, hey guys, I'm like a Healy tank. Is that cool? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, well, screw you guys, man. I'm gonna find plays. I'm gonna run the guild. That's the smart move to make. Then no one can kick me. It's brilliant. So part of something that put me off from 14 was actually all the references to Final Fantasy as a whole. Like, what the fuck is a Ziz? It's a recurring random enemy in Final Fantasy, but I'm like, well, I'll just call it a danger chicken. Danger chicken. I was surprised Arcane was really good. I just watched the trailer here on stream, and I was like, hey, I like the art style, so I'm willing to watch it just for the art style itself. Have been playing Project Zomboid. Haven't made it past 5 days yet. I'm not happy with WoW's current story. I mean, the Jailer, come on, it's still the game I play after so many years. I skimmed through YouTube videos. I'm such a scumbag. No, I didn't skim through it. I let it play in the background. But I did technically watch Taliesin's coverage on the Jailer and the storyline and blah 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 blah. And I thought it was good. I get what he's saying. I found it really odd. Well, comments are always odd, but I found it really odd in the comments to be like, so you're defending the game. I can't believe you. And I didn't quite get that at all. That wasn't what I walked away with. But to summarize what Taliesin was saying with his takes on the Jailer as a villain, one, that he sucks. He's a sucky villain. He has the personality of a thing with a bad personality. It's it's a very unimaginative personality. And it just sucks. But part of his coverage was on what was the Jailer's plan. So he gets into like this pretty long exposition on what ultimately comes out to be, well, this wasn't really the Jailer's plan. This is one of the Jailer's many plans on how to possibly destroy all of the universe. And he points out some instances where, part of the Jailer's plan with this and this and this, they kind of get somewhere, but they don't really pan out. and how certain story beats that we're familiar with, like with the Void Lords and shit like that, how, and Argus and the Burning Legion, blah blah blah. Those are all things that, he's like, hey, let's do this sort of shit, and see what comes out of it, and then I'll use that as an opportunity to enact like what my actual plan is, which is basically to break the fuck out, break out. Yeah, ultimately, I guess the Jailer's plan was break out, get into Zereth Mortis, unmake everything, because that sounds like a good plan. But as for how to do it, he has eons to like, not exactly plan stuff out, because that sounds ridiculous, but to just kind of like throw shit at the wall and see what happens. And I think I was talking about this with someone, where if you consider how the Jailer's old job was to like redirect souls into like a bajillion different, realms and stuff, it's not hard to imagine, once the Jailer / Arbiter got fired and was exiled, that he was like, what, I'm just going to try a bunch of different shit, because fuck everything, man. Fuck all this. So he's like, hey, Denathrius, we're buddies, right? And he's like, yeah, we're still buddies. And the Jailer's like, this system is stupid. Fuck this. We're going to, we'll figure something out, right? There's a Game of Thrones quote that reads, chaos is a ladder. And maybe that doesn't apply very well here, but I think the Jailer's idea was, I'm going to unmake everything. Fuck all this stuff. So he was just trying to find a way to fuck with things until some sort of opportunity arose. And I think that opportunity happened with Argus, because we now know that Argus was Argus's world soul smashing into the Arbiter was basically the ticket to shutting down the Arbiter, and then who knows what. And then they would figure it out later. So I think that's what a lot of that. I think that's what a lot of that was. It was just, let's just keep breaking things, and then once we see an opportunity, we're gonna take it, and that's all that was. What the problem though is that in game and in the narrative and in the cinematics, this wasn't expressed at all. So that's what makes this feel really awful, because essentially I'm just making shit up. I'm guessing. And that shouldn't be okay. I accept that there's a certain amount of like speculation and guessing to do and things like that. But when you're going this far as to like try to justify everything that the Jailer has been doing because we have so little to go on, that's not okay. So the fact that we're missing so much of that context sucks. If we get that in the Sylvanas book, it still sucks, because we had to wait that long to learn all these things. And that just demonstrates another lesson that Blizzard did not learn when it came to the way they present their narrative. Just put some of this stuff out in front. They did a half step when they're like, okay, we're just going to say, hey, yeah, the Jailer's the big boss guy. Okay, cool. But we just met this guy. We didn't know this person. At the risk of giving a 14 spoiler, the big bad of this entire no, I'm not going to do it. Never mind. I don't. That's fucked up. I'm not going to spoil 14, but I will just say that they did something similar to WoW, or they did something similar to Warcraft, where they set up someone big and take them down like right away, and I'm like, that it's a nitpick, just like with the WoW story, because I'm not emotionally invested into it. This is me just talking mess, right? But when I finished 14, I was like, oh man, this is, god damn it. I fell for it again. Classic JRPG stuff. But WoW's just, Warcraft's story just didn't work out. And I am eager for it to simply end. I'm eager for this entire saga that started in Mists of Pandaria. I want to close the book on that and move on to new stuff. That's why I'm really big on moving on to like a new land, a totally new land, leaving the Horde and Alliance politics behind. Let it take a break for a little while so we can just enjoy like some new shit. There were only some small hints of different areas to explore on Azeroth, and most of it came in the form of Titan facilities. I remember a quote from like a little Titan keeper thing inside the Chamber of Heart, where it mentions like, oh, here's a status update on different Titan facilities, and it named off places that we never heard of before. I'm like, ooh, that could be cool. Dun, dun, dun. 30-second as a not first. I've seen plenty of 14 videos, but I just can't get into it enough to try it out. Japanese fantasy stuff is just too weird for me somehow. Not just games, I'm not a manga fan either. And that's okay, Baz. Sometimes we just don't like genres of games or stories of games. There's no shame in that. We don't shame here. Oh, okay, yeah, we do a little bit. Sometimes we have some really cringy takes, myself included. So, I've been playing Guild Wars 2, and the game is very different from WoW, but in a refreshing way. Yeah, I haven't gotten very far in it. I'm like level 10 or some shit like that. And I'm trying out, oh god, the engineer-looking class, whatever, guns, drones, whatever that is. Looking for the fun, and yeah, it's a different game. It plays very different, and maybe I'll get into it like a little bit more. I know that it's tougher for a story to like hook me in. Like another one that hooked me in for at least a little bit was SWTOR, Old Republic. That helped because established franchise. So I was like, oh, okay, I can get into this. I remember Knights of the Old Republic. I had fun with that. Let's see how this is like. So I played through, got to it, got to the end, and I was like, the story was great. Yeah, I think I ended up treating SWTOR the same way that I looked at Final Fantasy 14. I enjoyed the story, but when I started to play the MMO, I was like, I don't think this is something that I'm enjoying. I'm not feeling it. Sorry. And I haven't really played SWTOR since. But it's still going. So clearly some people think it's great. And BioWare, EA, or whatever, they think it's great enough to keep putting money into it. That's fine. I never understood what Littlefinger meant by that. What it mostly meant was, what I think it mostly meant is that he is an opportunist. Like, he'll plant seeds. He doesn't have like a huge master plan of, oh yes, I manipulated everything from the shadows and everyone's moves was dictated by me. No one really, that's a tough thing to do, to manage a sort of conspiracy like that. Usually it's just, I'm going to just break shit. I'm going to set something off. So like in his case, I'm going to help instigate a war, and I'll see what I can capitalize on that. And from what I recall in the books, he did to a certain extent. I just don't remember like a lot of, it's been years since I've read Dance with Dragons. Ooh, yeah, it's been a long time since I've read through that. And you guys know me, like this is the worst thing. You know how I told you folks, I tend to not reread things or rewatch things. I just go with like that first experience, and that's it. Game of Thrones is a terrible spot to practice that mentality with, because them books are intense. Like Dee read through all the books, and she regularly rereads things. It's just a thing for her, which is cool. And so sometimes we'll get into conversations, and there are a lot of times where I'll be able to keep up, and I'll know what she's talking about, or I'll somehow remember a certain detail better than she does. But more often than not, she remembers all that stuff. She'll have to correct me and clarify things, or at worst, tell me that was from the show, not the book. I'm like, oh, my bad, my bad. What? He's really still dead right now? Oh my god. Yeah. So, yeah, lots of problems with that. Why is the system flawed? We don't know anything. We're just being told the jailer's back. Yeah, exactly. Like, we're lacking so much context as to what's going on. Like, it sounds as if the jailer has beef with the first ones because they're the ones who are like the architects of all these things. The jailer's just a machine. And he kind of knows that he's just a construct of these things, and and he wants to do something about that. So, sure, maybe he's trying to be the hero of his own story, but without the lack of expression of that in game, we're left to like guess, and that doesn't feel okay to me. I don't want. It sucks because by the end of this, a bunch of people are going to be like, oh, yeah, I knew it. And I don't think that's the best business plan for telling a story by fulfilling people's, I totally had it, nailed it, nailing people's theories as opposed to just telling their own story. Oh, well, though. I don't stick around in WoW for the story. I don't think I ever did. Like, the excitement over, like, oh my god, the Lich King. Ugh, this is gonna be crazy. I definitely got cool vibes from that with watching cinematics and stuff. But beyond that, actually playing through Wrath of the Lich King, I was like, this is like some Saturday morning cartoon shit, dude. Playing through, watching the Lich King appear. Ha 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 ha. This is my evil. Solve the problem that I made here. Or I had you fooled. You've been helping me this whole time. Go, troll dude. You are now the boss of Zuldrak, or whatever that zone was called. I found it cartoonish, and so it was. Yeah, there are a lot of moments that kind of broke me out of the thrill of the Warcraft story. Fucking Illidan's "You're Not Prepared" thing, to me, I don't think I've shared this, but to me that's like super cringe. I'm like, oh god, you are not prepared. I thought it was kind of cheesy, but that's what the Warcraft story is. It's cheesy and meh. It's okay. It's cheesy and it's okay, but I really enjoy the books. The books I enjoy, and I can't wait until I get the exploring Kalimdor sort of thing. Because I'm hearing, I some people have been getting it, and I'm like, FOMO. But there are people who are pointing out, more of like these. Oh yeah, it's racist. Oh yeah, and it's funny because the person who wrote that book, who wrote Exploring Kalimdor, is the same person that wrote the Grimoire of the Shadowlands, which I don't know what people have said about that. I don't recall people saying anything like overly good or bad about the Grimoire. But I haven't even had the chance to like really sit down and look through it. Like it's right there and it's like sealed. Still, maybe it'll be worth money somehow. But I'm definitely looking forward to reading that. Just because I want to see what the hate is all about. The whole thing about racist tropes and Zakan being dumb. Like personally, I don't buy into it. I don't think, I do believe that Warcraft's foundation as a story is founded based on, the time. It was a product of its time, I would say. The days when you have goblins like referred to as, kind of like a caricature of Jews or something, or Tauren as Native Americans. Humans are this kind of hybrid, American, not American, this hybrid this hybrid European slash new colony sort of vibe to it, and so on and so forth. Trolls or Caribbean, Jamaican, whatever. Yeah, the way I take it, these are races and whatnot that were written in like the 90s or so. Yeah, they're written in like the 90s or so, and so I don't know what you can do about. I don't know what you can do about that. Should they pivot and try to make them all feel woke and everyone's equal and like super politically correct? Should there be a hard pivot like that? I don't think so. But if we move on to a brand new continent where we see different shit, maybe we'll see something new, something different, and that'd be kind of cool. It's racist. I guess I missed that. I don't know if I feel as if some critics are elevating it to be racist, but I guess it's kind of like an unconscious racist thing. It's like you don't know you're being racist or sexist or whatever, but you're enabling it. I find that I myself admit that I struggle with that because I was raised a certain way. I was conditioned a certain way to make certain things seem okay when they're not. So I'm trying to learn about what is and isn't okay. But what I'm afraid of and what I don't want to do is be fearful to say anything. I'd rather be like, hey, you know what? If I say something wrong, please, go ahead and call me out. Let me know. Because as far as I know, my behavior is okay. I'll try to be aware. But at least please be tolerant if I do say something out of turn, and I will correct myself. And as a content creator, I guess I'm scared of saying something out of turn and then having that turn into like this big blob. OMG, this will listen to what this Filipino dude says about white people or whatever. I'm like, God damn it, guys. God damn it, internet. You're so mean to me. So I always thought goblins were more like New Yorkers than, I thought they were from Jersey and all that. They clearly sound like they're from like Jersey and New York or something like that. And I find that hilarious. Some of those lines, I don't know, like a couple months ago, when the whole OMG, they changed the emote thing, which is like, they made it such a big deal. And I was listening to all the lines. The one where the goblin's like, oh, it's like, I know what you like. And then you just hear the sound of like money jingling. Oh, that was hilarious. Some of those lines were like just hella funny. I don't believe that there was like racial things. I don't buy into like racial things in there because everything's got to be inspired by something. Inspiration comes in many shapes and forms. And so if a race is portrayed a certain way, I guess one thing to point out is that, human races tend to look and sound a certain way, but it is kind of funny that they take animal kinds of races like Tauren and trolls or whatever, who some would consider unattractive, and they apply a non a non-European race, a non-European ethnicity to those. So, trolls sound like Jamaicans, and they, move and act a certain way. Now that doesn't apply everywhere. Like, I think of, oh god, I don't know if I don't know if it was the game that does this, or if it was written this way, but I think of Warhammer 40K, and I think of the orcs. Whoa! And how they all sound hella dumb, but they all sound like they're English too. I'm not familiar with English dialects or regions or any of that stuff, but they just sound like they sound like, I don't know, like English soccer fans or some shit like that. And ultimately, it's it is a video game. We're looking at caricatures of behaviors and stuff, and I guess I can understand where some people will feel like offended by it. Like, if as a Filipino, if there was a very Filipino thing that I saw in game, I don't know how I'd feel about it, because I've never really experienced that feeling before. Yeah, so I don't know. It's a very complicated thing, and it's all based around feelings, and everyone's got different feelings, so it just makes it that much more complicated, because it's like, I'm not going to deny you how this makes you feel. I'm not going to tell you shouldn't be offended by this, but I'll definitely share how I feel about it. Goblins in 9-10 media forms are greedy. Yeah, in most cases. What I don't like is how people will say, "Oh, because they're like this because they're bankers and stuff. They're relating this. To like Jews." And part of me reacts kind of strongly to that. I think to myself, "Wait, why is it that you are making that association? It's like you're reinforcing this stereotype, when maybe goblins are just bankers. Bankers are not a race or anything like that." Yeah, it's a weird thing, because when people point out that they're offended by these associations, it also in a way reinforces or reminds us, oh right, that's a stereotype, I guess. And it makes this whole thing even more murky and less of a thing to want to dive into. I'm very, very surface. I look at the book, I'm like, hey, this is cool. and not much more than that. I mean, some of the most popular streamers on Twitch say some racist shit and they get even more popular. Yeah, right. I think it's only problematic if negative stereotypes are used, like if goblins are in fact based on Jews and they're portrayed as, and they're being portrayed as being greedy. I don't know. Like I said, it's complicated. Nazi propaganda from the 40s portrayed Jews with nearly all the stereotypes used with goblins in media. 40K orcs are funny. Would you rather have your entertainment be inspired by real world stereotypes or make their own? Example of making their own stereotypes in games, how players in WoW rank or think about different classes given a certain balance patch. That feels like several degrees away from the subject, and I'm not quite following that. But yeah, I'm not quite following the example. But yeah, we can certainly try to, create our own. Or we can certainly try to create tropes that aren't inspired by like real world stuff. And this is us talking about race. But it feels so hard to get away from that. Because, yeah, it feels like what can you do? Are you gonna have like a someone who like for example, like would it be okay if trolls sounded like were all voiced by English actors? Will that make it any better? I think Final Fantasy 14 gets away with it because they're like, we're going to make everyone. Not everyone, actually. I take that back. Not everyone is portrayed by an English actor. They get away with it. What 14 does is they make it so that all races happen to inhabit every continent, and then, or not every continent, but every major country or region, whatever, and then the region will have this dialect. So it's like, okay, you're seeing, you might see, a bunch of Highland people, but they're going to sound different depending on what zone you're in or what area you're in. They're going to sound a little bit different. So that's how they kind of get away with that. WoW clearly has, okay, this is a capital where this race lives, and and more than anything, you're going to see this race here because, reasons. For example, like the Exodar and Silvermoon, there aren't a whole lot of reasons for non-Draenei and Blood Elves to visit those areas. NPCs, that is. You don't see those very often. The only time you really see like a big mecca of different races mingling together are, big neutral areas. Not neutral areas, but centers of trade. So Orgrimmar, Stormwind, you tend to see more different races, although those are kind of segregated as well. Each Dwarven district and the little troll area that's being encroached by the goblins. And my kind of take on that is that there's like this subtle beef between Zakan and other goblins because in the days of Cataclysm, the trolls were kind of oppressed by Garrosh Hellscream, and the goblins were taking his side, and the goblins started to encroach on the troll area when they were introduced as a new race. And so I think that there's like a small thing there between Zakan and goblins. He's got some sort of small beef with them, I'm sure. I want to look at that book and try to find if there is some sort of subtle story that helps illustrate that. That helps to explain it, because that was one of the things I was pointed out. I'm like, is that really that big of a deal? Because I can definitely see why trolls do not like goblins, or why Zakan does not like goblins. There's probably like a story behind it. Same thing with Zakan not being able to read. I talked about this like a month or so ago, but what's the problem with Zakan not being able to read? I have a good feeling that 30% of the people in Stormwind can't read. Probably not. I have a feeling that more than 50% of the orcs in Orgrimmar can't read. The exceptions would be ones that are like spellcastery types. So I'm talking about mages and warlocks. I'm sure they got to read something. They got to read those tomes and scrolls and shit like that. But other folks probably don't. Does a warrior need to learn how to read? Not exactly. And I think I can, and I can definitely accept that sort of medieval fantasy sort of trope where not everyone is educated. Not everybody went to school. Is that what some of these critics think? That everyone went to like a school and got an education and went to college and shit like that, and then they became a hunter? Probably not. I feel like that's very entitled of people, actually. That they assume that everyone should know how to read. Some people are less fortunate than others. Have you considered that? Look at Marvel's Wakanda as an example. It's based on real life culture. However, it breaks stereotypes completely. Yeah, but it uses a trope too. It uses the very common, isolated from humanity, and happened to become a super advanced civilization because of it. Thanks, Vibranium. So it's not a it is a it's a story trope that is used a lot, but you're right, it does take it does take, you know, that African stereotype and turns it upside its head. No, it's like, oh, you thought we were a bunch of savages, huh? Yeah, we have spears, but look at these kinds of spears we've got, bitch. Kind of sounds like a world of difference to the exact characteristics of a real world stereotype. Do we see schools anywhere, or is it all basic schooling? I don't know. Zandalar has schools. Someone pointed out a while back that there's a world quest where you're trying to direct people to get to class and all that. But my take is that the average citizen on Azeroth is stupid. Or no, let me take that back. They are just not informed about things, and they probably didn't go to school. You know, it's like, hey, I was me and my pappy. I was born here. I never left this farm. All I know is the farm. And then the orcs came, and Daddy said, "I can't fight. You're gonna fight the orcs for me." And so off I went, and that's it. You know, I totally buy into something like that. Maybe that sort of context should have been expressed in game. You know, this goes back to my critiques on how Warcraft tells its story, but it also sounds like I think it's one of those unwritten. Yeah, I kind of figure that sorts of things. Players being immersed in how the world of Azeroth operates versus laying our world and how things work into Azeroth is a big. Players being immersed in how the world of Azeroth operates versus laying our world and how things work into Azeroth is a big problem with all this book drama. I mean, there are books and scrolls all over Azeroth. Most people can and probably read, but higher education might not be widespread. Plus, with all the invasions and wars and all kinds of shit happening to the world and people, who has the time to learn to about what happens on a different continent? Yeah, I have a feeling that things like gossip and so like word travel, the way I think it's expressed in the books too. Word does not travel fast on Azeroth. People learn things via word of mouth. They don't even really do the whole flying. Let me pull out this astral projection and then see the other person talking, and we do like a FaceTime sort of thing. We don't even see that expressed very much in the Warcraft universe. Conversation is very analog in that sense. Here's a book, here's a story, all word of mouth stuff. I wonder if that's kind of like this weird, like entitlement slash, the sort of impression that we have on us, real people these days, because of the internet and how easily information is accessible. We just assume the same thing for like everything everywhere. I don't know if that's, I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of a small influence or something like that. Are town criers a thing? I don't remember ever seeing one. Not really. That'd be awesome to see, actually. To see that, just like small, like I talked about this a while back, a little slice of WoW where the game acknowledges your achievements and things like that. Like, imagine if you're turning in some big quest, and then you walk back and you hear like the town crier talk about, oh, here, extra, passing out newspapers or some shit, extra, the dead mines have been cleared out by some fucking randos, extra, that sort of shit. That'd be kind of cool. It would be kind of weird to be like, hey, everyone, if some kid's going around town, hey, guess what, guys? Callia Menethil is alive, but she's actually, not really alive because there's like some weird shit that happened with an undead person in Anduin, and they used their magic powers to bring her back to life. And everyone's like, dude, this kid is off his he's off his meds, man. So someone put him back in the home. Someone had them. Yeah, they need more of that. They need more of that. What's up, Peter? We're just talking shit about story. That's what those announcements in the trade channels are. It's a town crier saying so and so got access. Yeah, there we go. Achievement notifications. Sounds cool, but I think that gets old on a high populated server real quick. This, at the risk of scope creep, it'd be easy to have that be a client thing, and not a so it's just phased to you. You don't care what other people do. You care about what you do. But I'm talking like just more random dialogue around town that talks about the latest comings and goings of what's going on. I remember there was in the order halls, sometimes, at least the Paladin order hall, sometimes they'll acknowledge some of your exploits. They were non-specific, so I think it was just kind of like a random nothing. It's like, hell, oh man, that's the High Lord. He did this and this. I was like, you're damn right I did. Bitch, kiss the ring. Yeah, it would be nice to have NPCs recognize achievements as well as quest lines that have been completed, major plot points, major events. And we see some of that expression. Not to say that Blizzard makes zero effort to do it. They do, because that's what phasing is. Notice how Ouroboros started out as, oh, it's so pretty and it's so bright outside. And then slowly it got darker and darker, and you see Covenant NPCs, NPCs from different covenants start to show up, whereas before there were hardly any of them. So I think that's cool. We see those sorts of changes in the game, but I just would like to see more of that. I'm sure it's not easy to do, because you need to, well, I'm not going to even attempt to get technical. I'll just say that I'm sure it's not easy to do, but boy, that helps. It helps a lot when, even if you don't quite get the story shoved into your face in like a 10-minute long cutscene. And if WoW never goes that route, so be it. But I would like to see WoW work on what it does and really capitalize on that. And to me, the expression of the world is awesome. It's fantastic. I love the way that WoW tells its story without telling the story. It just tells you things by showing differences in how the world looks. I think that's great. They should do more of that. Remember when August was in the sky? There were doomsayers on the streets of Dalaran. Yeah, like things like that would be like cool. Very, very cool. It would have been cool if every now and then NPC or like Mossworn or whatever showed up in Orbos. Or you just see, like you see kind of like signs of regular fighting going on outside. And then to further that context, to have like some random daily quest that appears in Ouroboros that says, hey, I think there are dreadlords around here. Do you mind doing a patrol? Small things like that would help to like put in a little bit more flavor in that Warcraft style by telling you a story through combat. Hey, help us out. There's dreadlords. Of course there's fucking dreadlords. Ah! And then you find them and you beat their ass. And all of Ouroboros comes down and be like, oh, we're hunting dreadlords. Let's fucking go. And they sweep the land. They sweep that little capsule funnel sort of thing. Yeah, small things like that help to give color to what's going on. This is a small thing, though. When you killed the Nixie and returned the quest item, her head appeared. Yeah, stuff like that. Well, maybe the stat buff would be like a bit much, but hanging heads and shit like that'd be sweet. That would be sweet. Yeah, kind of like a Citizens of Dalaran, but maybe without like the maybe without it being too extreme, just small things. For anyone who's played through other RPGs, JRPGs, or whatever, just small changes in the world, different dialogue, stuff like that would be like super helpful. WoW does that, but it's very narrow in scope, and it doesn't have to be. It could be more broad, and it doesn't have to be as impactful. It doesn't have to be, a head on a spike. It doesn't necessarily have to be like dragons swarming around Garrosh's house or the entire sky darkening. It can be like small things like citizens being like, hey, did you just hear that such and such happened? Yeah, dude. Or someone would be like, OMG, did you see that big ass sword in the sky? No, it's not in the sky. It's just like right there. It's that fucking big. And they're like, oh. Yeah, no one comments on the sword. No one in, does anyone in Orgrimmar or Stormwind? Definitely Orgrimmar, because at least it's on the same continent. Anyone ever say anything about that? Because that would be awesome. I can see a Wowhead article pointing out, let's pretend, I can see a Wowhead article pointing out, OMG, they added some flavor text to Orgrimmar, and citizens are talking about the sword, and they're talking shit. So, you ever heard of that sword? Yeah, I heard of the sword. Jesus, man. Like, don't you notice that you can't see the sun? Oh, yeah, how come I can never see the sun at 3? How come I can't ever see the sun at 3 p.m. in the afternoon? Because it's behind the fucking sword. Oh. That'd be kind of cool. if the sword could block out the sun. Oh. And you think it should. Certain time of the year, rotation, yada, yada, yada. Certain time of the day, the sun just happens to go behind the sword, and then a big chunk of Kalimdor goes dark. That would be a really, really cool bit of attention to detail. I would give mad praise over that. Hello, Jeppy. I'm doing well. I want to be able to give some gold to the two Forsaken outside the auction house in Orgrimmar. Every time Sylvanas is defeated, she's walked through the streets with someone ringing a bell and saying shame. The question then is she naked? Hello, Gaming with Grayson. Welcome to the channel. Glad to have you while you're still here. Don't hate me too much. To be fair, the staff one, that was, I forgot the name. Firelands staff. Yeah. What if the powers that be are keeping the sword a secret? How do you keep that a secret? And to be honest, the sword hitting the damn ground, that should have been its own cataclysm by itself, right? That should have caused shockwaves that did more than just ruin one zone. It definitely should have been more than that. Hell, if you think about it, when during the final cinematic of Legion, when you actually look at Sargeras come out from that cloud thing, it's like he's wrapped up in a blanket and he's spooning Azeroth. Where are his legs and hands exactly? Because you would figure that somewhere on the planet is Sargeras' fucking hand just gripping shit, or like his thigh muscles wrapped around Azeroth like a ball. Who is he crushing while this is happening? What kind of damage did he do? So it would be cool. I talked about this once. It would be cool if the next land that we visit are, continents that happen to be like touched by Sargeras during that moment. And so you see like a big ass handprint on a continent or whatever. It's like, yep. most of this place is flattened. It's been a couple years, and we're still trying to recover. We need your help. Somehow, Sargeras' hand spawns demons because that's what he does. Yeah, yeah. What about another region where it was like, yeah, so we saw big demonic ball sacks, and they happen to be on fire too. So most of this land is still on fire with Fel because it's really hot in Sargeras' nether regions. That could be a thing. And then people would be like, oh, you know what? Makes sense. Sargeras did kind of get it on. He was really wrapped up on that Azeroth ball. So, yeah, if his junk got somewhere and caused things to get all corrupt and shit, well, it is kind of surprising that no one knew about this. Like, hey, Diamond guy, wounds. What's his name? Fuck. Not Bran. Not Murden. I'm gonna get this. Magni. There we go. You'd be like, dude, did you not notice? And then Magni would be like, well, I can't smell demon sack. Azeroth didn't tell me anything because I guess she's embarrassed because that's really that's a really sensitive subject. And then we're like, oh, okay, I get it. By the way, Twitch was talking about a thing, or someone mentioned over on Twitch, like there might be a new feature where if you clip something, you might get like a badge or a reward or something. So if people care to clip stuff, that would be fun. Heck of a sundial. That would be really cool. The thing with the sword. Easy to keep secret. No internet. Everyone there died. Who lives near Silithus? Distance is a thing. I think the reason why Daisy, why that would be a tough thing to like hide from everyone is because you'd have to explain why am I sending my children off to war again? Because remember, like the sword strike or whatever made Azerite bubble up and all that shit happened. You can't hide the war. That happened. So I'm not too sure about that. I'm trying to recall from the not Whispers of War. That's a podcast. Not Shadows. That Before the Storm. There we go. That book before BFA started. I don't know what they acknowledged about. Do people know about Sargeras? I mean, you definitely couldn't hide the demon invade. If there was a demon invasion, why would you hide the sword? Or why would the higher governments in Azeroth hide the fact that there's a big ass sword in Azeroth's back when they just went through a demon invasion? What's there to hide, really? Panic? We just went through a demon invasion from fucking space demons. A space demon invasion. Yeah, how do you hide that? Even before the events of Legion started in game, we had the Legion invasion. You had big ass ships over crossroads and starts with a K, somewhere in Dunmoro, outside the Dwarven starting areas and stuff like that. It would be weird to hide the sword. I worry so much and so often that the user is obsessed with Sylvanas, and the entirety of the story has revolved around her since BFA. I hope the team understands too much fan fiction won't benefit the longevity of the game. I think that's a very toxic mindset to have. I'm not saying you're toxic, Calypto, but I'm asserting that I don't think we should get stuck on one person and blame them for everything. If you think the story sucks, cool. Okay. The story sucks. I don't think it's great either. But to pin it on one person, even with the best reasoning, well, he's the lead narrative designer. He writes off on all this stuff. It's not like he writes everything either. So I'm not, I'm not going to obsess myself with pinning it on one person as if he invented Sylvanas and Nathanos and all that. So, I mean, yeah, he's definitely driven a lot of that story, but to put it on one person, I'm not gonna hold him to it. I'm gonna hold the whole team to it. Cause team effort, baby. A giant butt cheek imprint where he sat, but he didn't sit. I don't think he sat necessarily. It feels like I won't be able to illustrate this very well, but it feels like, he was like, with that. So he had them thigh muscles. So his legs were open. Imagine a zone where, a zone where everything is like toxic and dead, right? Things are barely surviving, and that happens to be the place where Sargeras's butt was, right? And then he let one out, or he just has like really bad VO, and it affected a whole zone. I don't see that as very unreasonable, to be honest. Doesn't sound unreasonable. Deathwing broke out of the elemental plane and cracked the planet. And that's just Deathwing. Fucking, we got a big Titan with his legs wrapped around a planet. And this is after we've seen him cleave a planet in two with one sword swing. I'm pretty sure that I'm sure straight gravity, the straight gravity that Sargeras would generate with his mass would have caused massive damage to the planet. And, that's just one of many things that I would have loved to see explored. Hey, man. Yeah, I would have loved to see many things be explored. BO infecting an entire continent. Dee's giving me a look. She's like, what? We can talk about it later, too. It'll be fascinating. We'll do it over drinks or something. Karanos, thank you, Lightly. Well, if communication is that slow and via word of mouth, you could easily hide stuff. I'm just more like, what's the reasoning? The story honestly annoys me in that nothing seems permanent. Every new expansion is a reset back to Orgrimmar and Stormwind, as if nothing happened in the previous expansion. Aren't there still are there still people being paraded around? Arrested for sake. I don't know if that's still a thing. I think they stopped that. Was it Lorthamar that said Sylvanas was popular among the common folk? We are common folk, aren't we? And many of us are men, and we're perverts. We'd smash. Sargeras was the freaking genie. He has a smoke tail. Could be. So maybe it's not his junk that got onto Azeroth. Maybe it was just his hand. So if anything, the sweaty palm of Sargeras started the next cataclysm. You mean on other planets? What if he just straight up teabagged him? Yeah, could be, dude. He might have been like, okay, guys, watch this. And all his Burning Legion people, they're like, oh, he's going to do it. He's going to try and do it. He's going to do the flying kick. I've never seen the flying kick. Oh, yeah, like 7 eons ago, Sargeras did, our Lord and Savior Sargeras, he did a flying kick through 3 planets at once. Oh, it was amazing. He was trying to go through 4, but his shoe broke, and then he like kind of slipped up. It was amazing. Watch. And then you see Sargeras, from millions of miles away, he's like, oh, and then he's like doing this crazy flying kick, and then he kicks a planet, and then the planet flies off and it hits another planet, and that hits another planet for a threefer, and then all the demons are like, oh, our Lord, yes, excellent. What could have been happening? while the Burning Legion, while the Burning Crusade was going on. What sorts of fun did Sargeras have with destroying most of the universe? I'm sure that was hell. I'm sure he was having hella fun. Otherwise, he would have stopped, right? Motivated by being the hero of his own story, and trying to find fun ways to destroy planets. So, Green Planet, yeah, dude. He'll be like, okay, they're not in orbit, but if I do this calculation right, then with the orbital speed and blah, blah, blah. All right, I got this, guys. I got this. And then the demons are like placing bets. They're all placing bets and they're watching from like a bajillion miles away because no way is it safe to be anywhere near Sargeras while he's pulling those sorts of shit. Or he'll be like, okay, I found a bunch of moons and I collected them. I'm just going to chuck shit and throw them at planets. Something like that. But Sargeras is not bigger than stars, right? Like large enough stars, way bigger than him. I doubt that he messes with stars. Uses the sword as a cue stick. Oh yeah, it'd be like a paddle. Yeah, it'd be like a cricket paddle or something like that, where he hits planets with the flat of the sword and be like, all right, let's see where this goes. Wow. Right? Or he's like, okay, guys, we're going to try and do a big scatter shot. Like, oh, he's going to do the scatter shot. Oh, it's boring when he does the scatter shot. So what Sargeras does instead, he's like outside of a star system, right? One that hopefully has lots of planets and things like that. And then he grabs a planet and he drags it out. He drags it out to like, the edge of this star system. And then he takes his sword, right? Flattens it up. And he's like, all right, swing. Wow. And he, smashes the planet and it shatters, right? And all the pieces of that planet start flying off into the rest of that star system, and everyone just kind of watches to see like the planets just get all fucked up from like this sudden super meteor shower from this shattered planet. And then all the demons talk, all right, let's go look, man. Let's look and see what's left. For fun. Does the Warcraft universe have stars the way that we think of them? To be honest, we haven't seen like the sun and stars and stuff. So I don't know. It could be something else. You get close enough, it's like a giant Naru. Ta-da! Surprise! You wanted to know where the light came from? Literally, they are stars. And what's my theory on the next expansion? I wonder if Illidan made Sargeras his personal bitch by now. I had a fan theory, like many theories, where for all we know, Illidan might be Illidan, as soon as so if you remember the way the cinematic ended, Sargeras' spirit was boom, brought down onto the seat of the Pantheon, and Illidan's like, yeah, pulls out his warglaives. He's like, I forgot what it was. He was like, let's fucking go. And then it cuts out, to like the rest of it. I think the reality of it was like, Illidan's like ready to go. And then all of a sudden, like a booming voice behind him is like, what are you still doing here? And then Illidan stops and like the Pantheon's looking at him. And they're like, they're like, why didn't you go back? And Illidan's like, I got a score to settle with Sargeras. And then the Pantheon's like, the fuck out of here. And then they cage Illidan like immediately, snap of the finger. And they're like, no, dude, you're like a fucking stowaway. Now you're stuck with us. And we don't want to have to deal with you. We're going to deal with our brother here. We'll handle this, so for all we know, Illidan is just their barista now. He's just making them coffee and shit while the Titans do the actual work. Beating the shit out of Sargeras. Or they might let him loose immediately and they'll be like, haha, so you lost the Burning Crusade. And Sargeras is like, well, I really liked it. I thought the name Burning Crusade was really cool. It's like, you know, what else is really cool? Getting your ass beat and pulled off of Azeroth because you're such a bitch. And Sargeras is like, man, shut up. And then he gets back onto the chair, and then they all just start like bantering and talking shit. And Illidan's like, what the fuck is this? And the Pantheon's like, shut up and make us coffee. You know, and then they empower Illidan with new stuff. You know, they take away his fell power. Sargeras is like, okay, let me take that shit back. You know, good while it lasted, right? Illidan's like, well, what the fuck? And then they give him coffee powers. And now he just makes coffee for the Pantheon. You can't say I'm wrong because you don't know what actually happened after that cutscene. Do you? Nope. I love talking stupid shit like this. It's the best. Aren't Titans unfleshed though? At this point, I believe yes. They're like more like spirits and shit now. Sargeras needs a hug. But yeah, as for the next expansion, it can go anywhere. Like personally, I want like a lore reset, as in, can we start with something simple again? I felt like the premise of Mists of Pandaria started out kind of simple in its own Warcraft way. Hey, we're fighting each other. Okay, I guess we're fighting each other. And then stuck in a new land, learned the new land. I would love that sort of premise again, regardless of what we see. I want it to start simple. I don't want it to start with everything's on the line, dude. You gotta help out, otherwise it's all over. We've been there, dude. We've been there multiple times. BFA was kind of a weird one because it wasn't, you know, everything is on the line. It's more like everything with your faction is on the line, but it still had that same sort of premise because there's still a fucking sword in Azeroth's butt or back or whatever body part you feel like associating Silithus with. A planetary game of pool. Does the Warcraft universe have oh, at last? There, yeah. It'd be funny if later on, like, you see like another cinematic where the Titans are drinking coffee and they're like, oh, Illidan, you finally made this right. And they lean in really close to him, like totally mocking him. At last. And Illidan's like, this is bullshit. I gotta get out of here. How the fuck do I leave? And then the Titans are like, oh, we can read your mind too, bitch. You better practice on making good foam on our next latte. Otherwise, you know, we're really going to give it to you. And Illidan's like, yes, sir. I don't think Illidan was allowed to hit Sargeras by the other Titans. He might have an advising role because Illidan knows evil the way that they do not. So that's a very reasonable answer that's way disconnected from the fun that I'm having, lady. Come on, I'm trying to have fun. I'm just kidding. Hi, Menard. The coffee is not... What if time passed differently on the seat of the Pantheon? And, you know, many, many, many years pass. And Illidan's like, you will not believe what I have for you this time. And Titan's like, oh, really? You know, you've been making some good shit. Some good coffee these days. And Illidan's like, oh, no, you are not prepared. And then he presents a scone. And the Titans are like, oh, shit. This motherfucker made scones. And so they try out these, you know, cosmic scones. And they're like, this was the best. This is the best stowaway ever. You know? And then they elevate Illidan a little bit. You know, just a little bit. Because it's like, all right, Illidan can tell Sargeras to wash the dishes. Because he's getting hazed, right? Sargeras is like, oh man, I hate doing the dishes. And Illidan's like, you know what else I hate? You fucking up my planet. And then the Titan's like, oh, sick burn. Get it? Burn? Yeah, it would just be the most cringe and stupid thing. I don't know if I said hi to you, Monarch. What's up, dude? Sagaris is legit a genie. He got pulled back in his lamp with the other genie, and the Titans will continue until oh, that'd be hilarious too. Some ethereal sees this thing floating in space. They're like, oh, what's this? Rubs it, and all of a sudden it blows up, kills the ethereal. It blows up. The seat of the Pantheon becomes like normal sized again, and everyone's like, oh, someone rubbed the lamp. One of the other Titans is like, the whole lamp thing was really stupid, dude. Why are we doing the lamp thing? Why don't we just get our bodies back? Nah, it's cool, man. It's cool. Illidan, scone. Illidan's like, all right, dude. Here's your shit. More stupid shit, please. Talking stupid shit is the best. It is the best. It's fun making fun of this. Making fun and poking fun of this stuff. It'd be cool. I saw in Final Fantasy XIV, I saw that someone is drawing a manga based on the characters. So they capture a lot of the characters' personality, but they put all of these characters into like a high school or a school or whatever. So it's like this kind of, it sort of looks like this typical slice of life manga with Final Fantasy characters. Their names are there and everything, names, looks, and all that stuff, and some of their personality. Like one character's like the super popular guy. There's like the twins, they're doing their thing, and it's well drawn and it looks pretty fun. But it just kind of makes fun of the whole thing. Or it makes light of it. And yeah, that's what I love about fandom overall is, when we acknowledge these stories and characters, but we don't take them too seriously and we just decide to make our own fun with it. That's part of my enjoyment of the fandom. There are times to, debate points and things like that, but this is definitely where I find the most fun. Yeah, it's like a high school alternate universe. It's like a modern high school. Collector thinks that the faction divide will finally dissipate and we'll have a singular faction, hopefully with the option to be a mercenary. It'd be fun to take on an exalted rap as a sub-faction for aesthetic reasons too, a la Covenant Stele. I was, since I'm really big on the whole dissolve the faction divide sort of thing, so I apologize for people who keep hearing like the same thing over and over again. It would be really cool to have that sort of mercenary sort of feel to it, but it doesn't feel all that necessary either. Like I don't exactly see much of a reason for an orc to wander into Stormwind. And for the orc to say, hey, do you have any work for me? I'm sure the humans there are like, I know you save the planet and all that stuff, but, your people are green-skinned fucktards, and we don't want you here. And then you'd be like, oh, screw you guys too. See what happens the next time Deathwing steps on your fucking towers and shit. Sheesh. I think there's a certain element of, there's a certain grudge that's always going to be there. I think there's always going to be bad blood, and I can accept that. I can definitely accept that the Horde as a government will never find real peace with the Alliance as a government. They will always have like this kind of war, this tension going on. Maybe it explodes into a war or something like that. I can accept that happening for the entirety of the Warcraft franchise. If there's like a Warcraft 40K, I can accept orcs versus humans in a 40K universe, sure. But as individuals who represent the interests of Azeroth over the interests of their faction, which is what the champions that we play do, like pretty much every time. I think we could just decouple or divorce or whatever word you want to use. Separate us from the faction politic and focus on the stories that we've been doing this whole time. Limit the divide to quests and war mode. Everything else, every other divide can be dissolved. And I think the game would be fine. And it wouldn't feel different. People could still keep score. Oh yeah, the Horde did this. Fuck you guys. But the thing is, you would be saying this in guild to alliance to people who are part of alliance races and stuff. And that's all it is. I know in my head it sounds like this fantastic thing, but I know when I try to describe it, it totally sails over people's heads, either because I'm not communicating this well enough, or they're just not, or they refuse to get it, because they're, because some of these folks, they're stuck in their own mindset, which is, wrong, but it's fine too. I'm still disappointed that they didn't announce it at the Shadowlands announcement. The faction should have been removed then. I mean, right now, excuse me. I mean, right now in Shadowlands, the factions have no meaning anyway. They're just it just happens to still be a thing, but otherwise, there's no Horde and Alliance in Shadowlands. There's no Horde and Alliance separation inside Ouroboros or any of that stuff. None of that's there, and I think that's kind of a minus too. That's a lot. I think that's a big reason why some people feel really disconnected from the story, because we are so far removed from Azeroth that, it feels like we've been pulled into something else entirely, and that it's hard to feel drawn into that. And the thing that brings us back to it is Sylvanas and the fight between Sylvanas and Tyrande. And not everyone's a fan of that. So I can get how there's like this kind of compounding to how people feel about Shadowlands as a story. I get it. Excuse me. The Ashbringer looks so comically huge on my Blood Elf Pally. I mean, it's so awesome too, though, right? The Death Knight starting campaign, when they walked into Stormwind, they were spat on and yelled at. They could do something similar. Oh, absolutely. So many big and small ways to have the world acknowledge what you've done. We've seen phasing. We've seen what that can do. Like, you do certain quests and the layout of towns will look slightly different, or NPC placement is slightly different. I just want to see more of that. I just want to play my furry fox with my alliance friends. I'm sure some people are like, I want my furry fox in fucking Goldshire, baby. Arrgh. I want to play alliance, but my guild is Horde. I agree with you. It's 100. Yeah, like I would love. I'll get around to it eventually, but I would love to play an alliance race for the garrison. I want to play their garrison. I don't believe. So it's the difference between, I want to be able to play play as an alliance character so I can play with the garrison, versus I want my orc character to be acknowledged by the alliance so that they can have a garrison. I don't buy into that. I don't think that should be a thing. That doesn't feel right. For an orc or someone a member of the Horde race to have a officer position in the alliance. That doesn't seem right. So the factions become something like Democrats and Republicans hate each other's guts, but when there's an outside threat, they fight as one army. No, not even that. Not even that. It's just a separate thing, and we're just okay. Well, let me try to ride that analogy, Baz. Republicans and Democrats, think of them as like the really hardliners, super left, super right, and the people who run the party. That's the Horde and Alliance. The champions of Azeroth or whoever are like us or like me. Like I vote, but largely I'm going to take the side of things that benefit like me. And I'm not necessarily going to, every now and then. Yeah, no, that's not a good analogy. Yeah, I just think that we should just set, the Green Party. No. Then that introduces like, oh, we need a third faction. I don't think that needs to be a thing either. Speaking very plainly, like I said, just leave the faction divide at quests and war mode, and everything else we can play together, we can party together, we can talk to each other, all that stuff. All those language barriers, barriers between guilds and parties and raids and communities and all that stuff, gone. That's it. Just make it simple. And it would solve so much drama. There'd be so much less drama over that. Like for raids, the top raiders and stuff, no longer separated by faction. It's just people cheer on guilds, not factions, when it comes to the race to world first, or what's going to be like these new achievements that come from Mythic Plus and arenas and stuff. I've observed that it's less about the faction and more about the player. It's more about the guild or the team or whoever. Faction. I think factions to players, they don't feel as important, except for the purposes of roleplay, which can still be maintained when there's like opportunities for it. Why did the Alliance hate the Tauren vulnerable other than that they are a horde? I don't know. No idea. I'd love to play as a Tauren or a Troll, but I'm a Druid and Night Elf. I'd love to race change to other races that I do enjoy in themes and visuals. It's like the Horde and Alliance are in two towers, and us only ever care about them when the world is ending. Man, it sucks that I'm just not expressing this very well. This is me. It's so simple and good in my head. Alliance just saw a big ass walking cheeseburger. I know. Alliance, they don't hate the Tauren, they just like food. That's a terrible way to put it. Analogies are hard. Analogies, it's why most often I don't like using analogies. I'd rather just describe the thing that I'm trying to tell people. But of course, once I'm done, then people will say back to me, so what you mean is basically, and I'm like, oh God. Nope, I don't. When I hear that, I'm like, please tell me word for word everything that I said. Anything less is not a good demonstration of understanding. Yeah, that's the challenge, Bernard. Like, I was talking about this earlier. Like, I don't want to send the wrong message because it's very easy to send the wrong message. I'm not talking about ending the faction war. I'm not talking about peace between the factions. I'm not talking about the Horde and Alliance dissolving or breaking up or anything like that. But it sucks whenever I talk about this, people come to those conclusions and they're like, no, that's not how it should be. I'd be like, that's not how it should be. It shouldn't be like this. I'm like, I didn't say it's like that. This is a tweet. Read the words that I'm saying again, and maybe you'll get it. Yeah, Lily, it's very close to that. It's just letting players play together. Because once you do that, then I think people will kind of realize, oh, there's actually very little that is actually, there's very little that's really separating the factions. It's just this contrived line that's crossed. They just happen to be attackable. That's the only thing. And I can't talk with them. It was cool back then, but these days the faction division, or I'll just say it, the segregation of players is dated. And we need to move on from that. Yeah, I used that word in a tweet and then it kind of like blew up a little bit. I'm like, oh, okay. I think I did use the right choice of words. Player segregation, not racial segregation. Player segregation isn't good for the World of Warcraft, at least. Not now. Not after not after all this, not after 17 and some years. I think it's time to move on from that. Oh yeah, it's definitely having a negative effect. I mean, imagine, if we're trying to queue for content or trying to find groups or whatever, that you have the entire region available. Not like everyone literally is on, but you have the entire region available. So getting people to group together, much easier. Not guaranteed. There's still going to be what's your gear score and all that stuff. What's your IO and blah, blah, blah. But it would be in a much, much better place, especially for the Alliance. But here's what's more, and here's the really exciting thing for me is that people can then be the race that they feel like. Show me how you really feel, what you really want to represent. I like having a Draenei because they have a dope ass dance. That's it. I'm very surface, man. You give me something that's distracting enough, like a dope ass dance, and I'll be like, yeah, I like this. This is cool. I dig that. And yeah, it'd be cool to see people have an opportunity to express themselves the way that they would like to. You know how people talk about, oh, we need sliders and stuff. We need full body manipulation and things like that. Maybe we won't get that tomorrow, or even, further, really far down the line. But I'd love to see just people being the race that they feel like being. Yeah. I think the factions should move more towards ideology instead of what race you're born as. I only disagree with that because the foundations that put the races and the factions to where they are very, very deeply rooted. That shit's deep, man. And I think trying to fight that is a really, would be a really slow process. And I don't think it's necessary either. People will say that the conflict between orcs versus humans, that's like at the core of that's what helps make Warcraft what it is. And I believe that. I buy into that. It's a foundation, that hatred, as much as it might suck for hatred to be a very prevailing theme of what this franchise is all about, can't deny it either. That rivalry is what's there. But forcing that rivalry on players, to me, it didn't feel good from the very, very start. I remember when I first started playing WoW, I wanted to play Undead because I felt like playing Undead. I didn't even know what the factions really meant. I'm like, oh, I'm undead, done, dealy, And so then I would ask friends around. I'd be like, hey, so you wanna play together? Oh yeah, dude. What server you on? I'm on this server. Oh man, why don't you roll on my server? Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll play together. What are you Horde or Alliance though? I'm Alliance, and I'll be like, oh, you're dead to me, dude. But that sucks. When you think about it, it sucks that from the very beginning, the game separates players, and that isn't very cool. It gives the game a certain charm, though, because of this manufactured rivalry. I think that charm has lost its shine, though. You know what I mean? I think we're ready to move past that, or to find a different way to rebuff that shine, but also make the overall experience for players better. Yeah, I'm kind of with Monarch. I don't think a big shift needs to necessarily happen, at least not now. Not There doesn't need to be a big political shift in order to make this whole dissolve the divide thing happen. Just make it happen. Because afterwards, after we kind of settle on this for a few years or patches or whatever, then we can have like a big shift. Like, what if we see something like the Horde invade Stormwind and not sack it, but they occupy it for a little bit. There's like this big event going on, and then for a while there's like a Horde presence in Stormwind. Maybe it's not because they're fighting each other. Maybe something happened and they're just there. I'm sure people will be pissed, but does it affect the actual gameplay? No, not at all. Yeah, everything is kind of normal because we're just hearing about this story. We play through a quest line that is exclusive to the events of what's going on between Horde and Alliance, but shortly afterwards we go after the big bad like we always do, and that's it. It's just that now we can have more impactful events. We can actually see a faction lose for a little bit. Maybe there could still always be like this. There could always be this this big back and forth. Think of it like a scale, right? Right now, the way the World of Warcraft story is told, like they try to make these scales not tip very far. They try to not make it tip too far in one direction. And some would say it's boring, some would say it's fair, some would say it's not like that. The Horde are clearly losing because this and this and this. That's beside the point. In a place where where players are kind of divorced from the faction politic for the most part, we can see bigger shifts. Maybe we won't see the scales break. We're not going to see the Horde be eliminated. Routed from every capital. I don't want to see something like that, but we can see bigger tippings of the scales where we see like big losses or big wins or something like that. But largely, when we're talking to fellow players, we're talking amongst fellow Horde and Alliance, and we're commenting on it as if we were like the citizens that are like, dude, did you hear about what happened? Oh yeah, man, it was fucking nuts. But we're just kind of doing our own thing. Stop giving great ideas people like. If Blizzard gets wind of it, they'll do the complete opposite. I know we're being kind of funny about that, but it's really discouraging too when people get stuck in that mindset. I don't mean to call you out on that, Tharmas. People do it all the time. I joke about it all the time, and sometimes I do it. But it sucks that that we lean cynical these days, not for no reason. There are plenty of disappointments that have kind of brought us down this path, but I just want to point out that we don't got to be like that. We can give our critiques and our feedback without trying to drag the mood down, you know? What's this crazy cat doing? Talking smack. Talking smack and cats. Psh, no one likes cats, dude. It's I'll go through Reddit and I'll look at a subreddit called /aw. And it's just cute things. That's it. Because I, like many, like to employ some eye bleach. You know? I love looking at the cute fuzzy puppies and stuff. And Dee will watch me. You know, she'll be in bed and I'll be like, hey babe, look, it's the puppy. And then the puppy does like a cool thing. I'm like, ha ha ha. And then she'll watch me kind of click through and I'll open up a picture and it'll be a cat and I'll immediately close it and move on without a word, you know? And she'll just laugh because she just knows my distaste for cats. Just truth, they don't have a great track record about keeping fun in the game. All good. I'm just pointing it out. I do the same thing, but I use Thideology instead. That sounds super safe for work. Okay. I think the Alliance should burn Thunder Bluff down for Darnassus. How do you burn a mountain or a plateau? How do you burn that? You want to take down Thunder Bluff. You want to make it collapse somehow. You want to knock that shit down. I think WoW and RTS games before that were never intended to live as long as they have, and after all this time, it's hard to change the factions, but equally as hard to keep making new expansions based on the two factions as they are. Remember, WoW is based on the Alliance. WoW was mostly Orcs versus the Alliance. Yeah, it was Orcs versus humans. And then it was Orcs versus the Alliance it was Orcs versus the Alliance, Orcs versus humans, and then Alliance versus Orcs plus friends. Because they just had some friends. So, we got some trolls with us. We got ogres. Hey, check that. What other units did they have? Yeah, orcs, forest trolls, ogres. And then later, you know, when they got warlocks, they got undead stuff, and they did some weird shit, and demons and skeletons and all that. They got shaman powers. Ooh. But by the end of it, by Warcraft 3, things were kind of splintered off. Like most of the Alliance was kind of falling apart at that point, if I recall. And by the end of Warcraft 3 anyway, like orcs were just kind of, they were slowly putting themselves together. But for the most part, it didn't even have to be that way. They didn't have to make a horde and alliance sort of thing. It never had to be like that, in my opinion. Okay, new plan. We knock the sword over and it crushes Thunder Bluff. Oh, that would probably work. Yeah. I mean, in game, it doesn't look like it would make sense, but I totally get it. Yeah. I think in game, the size of the sword what would it fuck up? It would fuck up Ungoro for sure. Yeah. If they knock down the sword, it depends on how deep it is too. But if they knock down the sword and it falls over, it might fall into like the canyon in Ungoro. And then the sword would kind of be upright. So it would be like this big ramp, right? And then you can take your ATVs or whatever and just yeet off of it and see how far you go into Silithus. Like, whoa. And then of course you leave a big ass hole in Silithus. And you know how it goes. If you get stabbed, you can't just pull it out. You just can't pull the sword or the thing out, because that might be blocking something. And if you pull it out without being careful, then you'll bleed out and you're dead. So if they pull out the sword, Another Azerite war. But the thing is, I guess Azerite is still bubbling out, isn't it? Isn't Azerite still Azeroth is still bleeding, as far as we know. Like, we never stopped it. I mean, we did something. So we cleansed the corruption thanks to the power of the artifacts. Woo! But then that was before BFA even started. That was before the blood started coming out. So next expansion, AP might be a thing again. Okay, let each city-state be their own PvP faction, and when you go war mode, you sign up for which one you do world PvP. Oh, that would sound so chaotic. I mean, it sounds neat, but it would sound so chaotic. You know who'd win? Blood Elves. Blood Elves would win. So, have fun with that. I guess it depends on the realm, too. If they do if they try to close off realms and stuff, but I don't. Well, elves overall would win. Elf versus elf faction, baby. If there's a hole, it's a man's job to thrust into it. Why has it got to be a man's job? Why can't a woman with tools do the same thing? That's fucking sexist. Elves are lame. Yeah, but we're just talking straight numbers, baby. Straight numbers. And you wouldn't want to kill a sexy elf, right? It'd be more like Silverman. No, well, I'm thinking like elves period. So there's definitely a big night elf and blood elf population. Nightborn not so much, but same thing with void elves. Not so much, but they're still part of the same fam, mostly. I'll see you later, Peter. And Blood Elf players could still decide to sign up for Storm. Oh, okay. So races can sign up for whatever city they want to. I think mechanically, I could see that falling apart hella fast. But I know these are just like simple ideas. I'm not saying no, but here's me challenging the idea. It would be not so different from the faction conflict. I'm sure that without any other mechanics, if Blizzard just said, hey, every major capital is a PvP faction thing, you would definitely see people wanting to join the winning team. Straight up. As soon as one starts to feel dominant, then everyone's going to go there. And you would definitely need to have something to balance that out. I had an idea that I shared somewhere, maybe on Twitter or something, where it would be cool if you turn on war mode, and when you turn on war mode, this is me just talking about war mode, not about the faction divide and all that stuff. But if you turn on war mode, all of Azeroth, all of it, including Outland and AU Draenor and Pandaland and all that stuff, if it turns into like this big Arathi Basin like map, think of Arathi Basin, think of the battle for Nashatar, for those who remember that, where there are certain areas that you just take and you hold them. You just stand there, you hold the thing, and the longer you hold it, you get points. So imagine if all of Azeroth was like that, everywhere. Maybe not everywhere, but let's just go with everywhere for now. In war mode. And so it's going to compel players to be like, oh well, fuck, I'm gonna take all these territories. And the longer you and when you hold these territories, you get something out of it. I don't know what you get. Not important. I'm just going with the premise of turning Azeroth into a big conquest map. and people are just kind of fighting to hold these territories for like bragging rights or some shit like that. And I guess I'll get into this. Maybe you'll get something. Maybe at the end of the week, whoever has the higher score will get bragging rights somehow. I don't know. They're acknowledged through something that has no impact on the game. Pretty much no impact on the game. Like you get to use a banner, or you hang something up, or you get a glow, or you get a buff. I don't know, but just something small, and then and then each reset, the map is reset, and then you do it again. And it's just a weekly thing. That's it. That's all I gotta do. I think that would be hella fun. Maybe you don't, but I'm trying to think of shit. I must be blown up for his husband. No, I'm not blown up. Let me look at my numbers really quick. Cause no, I don't think I'm blowing up. Let me see. Ooh, dude, that is not blown up. I am doing half as good as I did in the previous month. Actually, no. That's probably not true, because I did take that kind of week-long break, and that definitely does change things. But yeah, this month is bad. This month is actually, oh shit, this month is really bad. Woo, I'm not going to look at that. I'm going to close that window. Positive energy, guys. Part of that is to deny. Part of it is to deny everything. So anyway, WoW had put out a thing that says, in order to unlock double legendaries on 9.2, we've calculated it'll take a maximum? Don't you mean a minimum? It'll take 28 days of world quests on Zereth Mortis. I don't think that's a good conclusion to come to yet. Well, actually, no, I think that's fine, because they're just looking at things as they are. Because I'm not sure if all of the daily quests give reputation. Let's click the article and find out. Where's the math? Math. Okay, 3 world quests that give 225 thing. Random reputation token rewards from Zereth Mortis dailies. Yeah, so I don't think the rep stuff is done yet. Anyway. It looks like Korthia, the rep reward is somewhat random. Yeah, I think so too. Like, sometimes you see like the bonus rep, but I think there's a base rep that is not there right now. Yeah, it says daily quests in Zereth Mortis have a chance to award reputation tokens for 100 rep. Quests themselves don't give reputation. If I recall, I hope I recall this correctly, Korthia dailies do give reputation. They do give base reputation and then bonus reputation like on top of that. Anyway. 28 days, they claim. I'm still like, they should give the belt easily, but if it takes 30 days for the thing, if it takes about 30 days for the recipe, then I'm okay with that. What this does do is, if these calculations are set and this is how it is, at least that kind of relieves the race to world first. That's not going to be like a big question. Oh, we gotta have it, otherwise we're not gonna win the race. Same thing with crafting tier. I have a feeling that being able to convert pieces of equipment into tier pieces is not going to happen early on. because that definitely would encourage some degenerate fucking behavior. Like you would, I saw in some other article that the BOEs in the upcoming SFO raid are going to mostly take up tier slots, mostly for the purpose of converting those into tier slots if you want to. And that, that kind of works out, but it also gives a huge value into those BOEs. People will want that stuff because those are probably going to be the most valuable things to convert into tier. And I think, and what's kind of cool about that is that it gives a cash path to getting tier pieces as well. Not only might you get them from raids, you can convert lesser gear from Zereth Mortis, or you can get BOEs and stuff and convert that. So I actually think that's kind of smart. Any good news from coming to PTR, or is it all drama? Both, Necro, both. People are bitching that it takes too long to unlock the ability to use 2 legendaries. I'm trying to see it from different angles too. In some ways, in a lot of ways, it feels inconvenient, but I think a lot of that is because we're looking at this stuff in preview. If this happened, if there was no PTR and we saw this happen live, I don't think the reactions would be as strong. Right now, we're reacting and we're waiting for the content. So I think that makes people more likely to be upset over stuff. Wasn't there supposed to be no player power locked behind it? Yes and no. There are people who pointed out statements, interviews that WoW had transcribed too, that straight up said double legendaries are going to be behind rep, but people missed that. This was a quote from an interview done in November, so we can't say that they never said anything. An interview that I did with Morgan Day pointed out that the Cypher is not going to have player power behind it. So when he answered that question, he was being very specific. But so was John Haidt. He was the one that said that double legendaries were going to be behind reputation. Yeah, it's all good. Kind of sucks because I think that the rep requirements are way long. And I think there can be a compromise for that. Give us the belt sooner, give us the recipe later, and I think people would be fairly happy with that. No biggie. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. All right. No player power, I think, means the conduit upgrade and gem socket. The interview with Morgan Day was pretty specific on the Cypher. Will the Cypher provide player power for, do people need to work the Cypher for raids and dungeons and PvP? And the answer is no. But double legendaries, a little bit different. The rep grind will be account wide, right? Well, the thing with the belt and all that stuff, Necro, is that at the moment, when you hit revered reputation, you can purchase the belts, or you can purchase the legendary gear, but you also purchase the legendary memory. So you can craft it on whatever slot that you like. And you can craft this legendary on any slot except for trinkets. And like the, and because it's a legendary memory, when you learn that account wide. So it's not so yeah. Now keep in mind though, this might be a little bit cynical, but if they did do a thing with account wide rep, that is probably going to mean that the quests that you do are also going to be account wide for the sake of fairness, and that would piss hella people off because if you have if you only play as one character, you got to do them 5 dailies for the rep. Hey, cool. And I get, and now I have 500 rep, and that rep is shared across all my characters. However, all your other alts and all of your other characters have like nothing to do. So there's sort of a give and take, and in the end, at least in the context of this, you don't get anything out of it. So it's like all that, yeah. I'm okay. I'm okay with the implementation of it being, you get the power, it's account wide, same difference. You still only need to work that one character, and then you're okay. I'm trying to think of the other stuff that's on the rep vendor. Not much. Yeah, you get less work. You get less work among your alts, but speaking specifically about getting the legendary, it doesn't mean anything if you get a count wide rep. I've been having a heck of a time. Having a heck of a time, as in you're having a fantastic time. I think I'm getting pretty close to a point where I can start my experiment of, can a Lobby character survive patch 9.2? But I need to do a lot of research, I think. I need to look into kind of simulating the path of what a fresh max level character would take. So there are two routes. One is, okay, I leveled my alt to like this. I have an item level of this, and then I'll skip shit. But I don't think that's a very fair. I need to put a lot of thought into how I want to do this simulation. Like a fresh character, like a fresh account that finally jumps into Shadowlands the first time, that might be easier to do, or it'll be easier to research, because it's like, okay, you get to max level, you choose a covenant, whoop-de-doo. You start playing through, but how far can I go how far can I go until I can start accessing Korthia? And then from that, how long does it take after I access Korthia to access Zereth Mortis? So I don't know if it's like maybe I'll just do like maybe I only need to do like chapter 3 of that thing, and then I'll be able to, and I think that's kind of been like a regular thing. So like, get to max level, choose a covenant, get to chapter 3 of that, which introduces you to like all the loops, the covenant callings, the Maw, Torghast, and all that stuff. And I think once you finish that, I think you can then access Korthia. So you're sent off to Korthia, and you can access the first 3 chapters of that right away. And then you finish. But chapter 4 is what unlocks flying in the normal Shadowlands zones. Chapter 4 has a renowned requirement, or at least maybe it still does, I don't know. But then after that 3rd chapter, then I think I should be able to access Zereth Mortis. I hope I'm right there. Now, I'm not talking about skips, I'm talking about a fresh character. What's their experience going to be like? Because I know at least that right now, yes, with what I have access to, as soon as I make a max level character, I can skip my way almost straight to Zereth Mortis content. So I think for that, like, that's as simple as, okay, let me just have a max level character, low renown, and have an item level of about 140, 150. And then good fucking luck. See if I survive. And that's where, and I think I should do that soon. To kind of illustrate to folks like what it's going to be like. But it's also not fair either, because if I have a character and I can do all those skips right away, that strongly implies that I'm gonna have fairly easy access to BOEs, to like tokens that give me Korthia gear, all sorts of stuff. So I may need to kind of simulate, okay, here's what it's like if I just don't happen to have any of these resources. Let me show you how much of a bitch this is. And obviously it's going to be like a huge struggle. I can barely get anywhere. Mobs are just like destroying me. So let's add things. Let's now simulate the more prepared player who happens to bank a whole bunch of like Korthia gear. So, okay, let's get them to an item level of 200. Now let's see how it feels. Okay, this feels better or worse or whatever. And then I can probably just talk about, okay, well, when there's going to be crafted gear, you're going to get an item level of 233 with all this crap, with most of this crafted stuff, and that should help too. I still dislike Torghast so much as a grind. I blame the art. It's so similar and depressing. I mean, it's all built the same. It's not like Torghast is like, oh, we're going to have less green fields. That'd be kind of weird. I'm having a hard time enjoying all of this expansion. To me, feels like it takes far too long to get them where I'd like to play for content like Mythic Plus and rating. I agree with you there, Necro. I also feel like for other folks, though, it's dope. in a way, getting to high end content that's a pita. Rating is the worst right now because of Shards of Domination. The other stuff I'd say not so much. Like I'm going to stick my neck out there and safely argue that right now it's pretty easy for a player to for an alt to get up and running within a few short days once they hit max level, because you have like the conduit boost. You get all the conduits at 200, like boom, right away. You get access to Korthia gear, you get access to crafted gear. You can get a boost to Renown 40, like right away, which gives you hella shit. 8 Renown is all you need to get access to the Covenant Legendary, if that's important to you. There is getting the legendary recipes. That's kind of a thing. You can kind of half-ass it, at least for a little while, by trading down Soul Ash. So you can make yourself like a 2, not a rank 6, but like a lower legendary to like get you started. And you can probably start smashing 10s if you're let into a group, of course. But beyond getting into a group, I think that with, if you're already skilled with that class, then you'd be pretty viable. That's my opinion, though. I definitely think that's possible. Raiding, but notice I didn't talk about raids. If you want to, if you're just starting normal and you're working your way up, okay, cool. But if you want to quickly get yourself into heroic and feel viable, it's not going to feel great because shards. I think shards were a big fuck up. Are the skips if you have a max level character first before you can get the skips? It's like what Betty said. You need to progress at a certain point. Shards are also getting turned off for the next year. It feels like such a wasted effort now. That's been a thing though, Necro. Like I'd like to think that we knew this from the very, very start. That when they said, cool, Shards of Domination are going to be, very thematic and they only work in the Maw and Torghast. And that's it. And then the shards themselves, the separate shard effects, which hardly do shit. They'll have some limited effect out in the world and in PvP and Mythic Plus, or in PvP they're nerfed even harder. So I'm not surprised at the slightest that they're like, screw it, let's just turn them off for the thing. Because imagine if they were left on. Imagine the different argument we would have. I get what you're saying. It feels like such a wasted effort now. But imagine if they did work. either just the shards themselves or the bonuses. Then we'd have a different conversation. We would be saying, fuck Blizzard. How dare they make me have to do even more alt prep? Because not only do I have to do this and this and this, this and this, I have to go run old raids so I can get these shards and whatnot. And then I got to get these embers and powering up. Blizz, they need to have like some sort of boost so I can just buy the shards with gold or whatever. And then do whatever stuff to like get them boosted up. And so there's a solution there. But then I'd also get into the whole idea of, now I have to manage all this fucking gear because they're slot locked, because I want to have this active shard or this active bonus. And on top of that, there's the Cypher gear. There's there's the new crafted gear because I want to have a 2-hour flask. There's the tier sets. I have this double legendary, so I can't even use it. Blizz. We would just be talking different shit. That's all I'm really saying. And I think it's just easier for Blizzard to be like, you know what? Are those shard effects really worth it? Nah. Let's take them out. But are they wasted effort? It depends. It depends because the shards still work in the Maw and Torghast and Korthia, presumably. I haven't checked it out in Korthia. Maybe I should check it out on the PTR. Because there is still the Jailor's Gauntlet that is supposedly hard. And thankfully, we don't know if the rewards had changed. If the rewards had, because they changed in the previous build, like they took some away, they moved some around, and I don't know what's happening there. But assuming that the shards are still going to work in the Jailor's Gauntlet, then cool. Like Pika says, Blizzard bad, boo. Boo them. Problem isn't catch-up mechanics. There's just nothing to fucking do at endgame. I'm overwhelmed with all the transmog that I'm running for. And if that doesn't interest you, I totally get it. Tier gear was not turned off. Not right away. You are right. Tier gear was not turned off. Not right away. Also, raid-specific Azerite traits only worked inside that one raid. That was kind of a bummer, wasn't it? It was no. Walking that back. It had a certain effect, but it was more effective after. No, I'm not remembering that right. There was something about Azerite traits earned in Uldir that had a very specific effect only in that raid, if I recall correctly. Yeah. WoW will always be the not enough content versus too much work to level alts discussion, I guess. Yeah. Something like that. Hey, gaming. But I do think the problem was with lack of catch-up mechanics for shards. Like, I was harping on that for a while. Nothing was done. Oh well, move on. But that part, I think, does suck. If they did have something like that, then that'd be kind of cooler. I'd have less shit to say about 9.1. Doesn't that defeat the purpose of gearing in an MMORPG? The point is carrying your power over. It just feels bad, man. But then we also have people pissed off about the Mage Tower and needing old gear for that. It's like, how dare they? The things that I have right now should be like fine. I guess that's a different sort of argument, but I'd rather have the outdoor world content of WoW than nothing before bosses of 14. I think this is just the difference between. I love playing with all the different things, right? And I think a lot of people would agree with me that there's a certain fun in playing with all these different pieces and trying to find out what's best for us based on our play style or what sims right or whatever. Getting all that stuff together, that's where a lot of us find that friction, and that's where a lot of us find that frustration. We want catch-ups. We want this to stay relevant. We want this to feel relevant even after the content is over. Yada yada yada. I will save my shards because they still work somewhere, and there's still stuff for me to get in Torghast, and it'll have like a small effect to it. So I don't feel like my investment into that was wasted, especially because the only investment that I really put in to those shards is raiding, showing up, doing the thing. Like, shards of domination were a, hey, thanks for coming kind of prize. You didn't do extra work for it, right? You just kind of randomly got them, and then you slotted them. Like, that was it. And the same thing with the gear. Like, you just got it. Hopefully you got it. It's, shards of domination were not Korthia research. It wasn't an AP farm. It wasn't farming for bad luck protection in Legion. It wasn't doing world quests and farming for those echoes of Nyalotha in 8.3. You just raided and you got it. So the wasted effort, it was things that you were going to do anyway. Raid. And I think that's probably part of the reason why Blizzard was like, nah, fuck it. Which is unfortunate. So, where's the bot voiceover for DBM? It's on the way. It's on the way. 1678 with 6 keys left undone. Damn, yeah, I'm at 1800. So you're getting there, dude. You're getting there. How many have you done so far, right? Now I understand that FF14 is a MMO visual novel. It's like 14 is 2 games, right? It's the MMO and then the story side. I enjoyed the story side, and I don't really have much to say about the MMO side of it because I didn't really get into it. The only thing I didn't like about the MMO part of it is that it didn't really pull me in. But that's it. That's the most that I can really say about it. Just due today because we bugged the spires and couldn't finish it. Oh, that sucks. The only thing that upsets me about the Mage Tower requiring old gear is that without a Wowhead article telling me that the scaling actually makes old gear better, I would never have thought of such a thing. The time walking meta, that's like that's been around for a while. So time walking started in Warlords, if I recall correctly. So it's been around for a while, like 6 years, 5 years, no, 7 years. So it's been around for a while. Time walking, it's a funny thing because when you get scaled down and now that I've done the Mage Tower a number of times, like you get to really understand that, okay, all the gear is scaled down to so that way, like you're all, no matter what, your chest, like for example, your chest piece has at most 14 of your main stat, strength, intelligence, agility, whatever, and other such things. All those numbers are fixed. So you want to focus on the kind of secondaries that you want to have, but also you want to care about the item level of the gear that you are using, because enchants have certain level requirements too. Some enchants have a level requirement of at least level 50, item level 50. Some enchants have a maximum item level of 50. You can't enchant things that are a higher item level than that. So that's where you start poking around. And that's where you start seeing people use the Wowhead database to research and find gear that has like a bunch of slots, but they still happen to have an item level of 50. So that way you can maintain the maximum amount of base primary stat. It's a very nerdy thing It involves a lot of research and then followed by a lot of farming to get those things. And to me, there's a certain fun in that because it's very numbery in the RP, in the role play elements, because you're trying to work this system and make it work for you. Some people find it super frustrating, and I totally get it. That it would be like just way simpler if things were put on a template of some sort. Remove the frustration. But what some people find frustrating, other people find fun because they get to play with stuff. And it makes old gear, old enchants, old gems, old resources feel relevant again. People made millions of gold just selling their old crap or farming up old crap and capitalizing on the FOMO that people have of trying to beat the mage tower and getting the book mount within the 4-week period. I still think that that when the mage tower comes back, I think it should come back for every time walking, or it should come back for 2 weeks every time it comes back into town, because a week doesn't feel like it's long enough for people to like dive in, warm up, do that sort of thing. I don't believe it should be up all the time, because I think that would cause I think that would change the player mindset. I did see it, Monarch. It's okay. It didn't seem all that. It didn't quite pull me in. Time walking stuff. I forgot what I was talking about now. Crab? You saw like 1 second of that, dude. And I was like, okay, that's different. But yeah, crabs and mushrooms and stuff. I'm like, I don't get it. This is weird. I'll watch more of it because the animations look pretty cool, but I'm not quite sure what to make out of it. I don't know how to react to it. The other parts of it, sorry, we're talking about anime all of a sudden because I totally fell off on the time walking conversation. Sheesh. Outside of those weird moments though, Menard, like I was like, this is all right. The world building of it is like okay, but we'll see. I want to give it a bit more of a chance. Can't really judge an anime within one episode. I think, having it up all the time. I think having it up all the time is good. It'll create a community doing challenges like using a specific talent set and gear and trying to every patch expansion with new trinkets. Why would there be new trinkets? You're definitely watching more episodes. I think the drawback that I see with having it up all the time is that we would take it for granted. I feel like psychologically, like we definitely see that in games. When things are just up whenever, we take that for granted and we put it off, we neglect it. It doesn't feel as exciting. That's an opinion. That's very, very much an opinion. Because I'm mostly basing this on how I'd feel. If it was up all the time, I'd be like, I'll get to it. Even if it's not up all the time, like I finished the Paladin and I was like, I'm good. I'll get to it. I'll get to the rest next time. I'm not in a rush for it. You know what I mean? So yeah, having it up all the time, that would like kind of enable that sort of behavior. But I also feel like having it up all the time would just make people feel complacent. This is an anecdote. When the Mage Tower first came in patch 7.2, people were excited over it. Like, yeah, let's fucking do it. Let's go. And so, the best players were slamming it for the sake of, we can do this. We got to prove to ourselves that we can do this. And a bunch of us did. And then when the new raid came out, there was like kind of a period where, okay, we're going to try it. Other people were like, okay, we're going to try it out now. Because we have more gear. Oh, it's still too hard. Fuck it. And then as patches went by, there are kind of more and more people that were completing it and like, hey, that's cool. But the reception over it the reception of it overall was kind of tepid. After the initial launch, because people just figured that it was going to be a thing. Okay, cool. It's it's up for a couple days. Let's do it. Oh, it's down. It's going to be down for about 7 to 10 days, or however long it takes for it to, be rebuilt and all that. Kind of dumb that when it was destroyed, it took a while for the fire to smoke. There was like a 1-day cooldown for it to even start, to even start the process of rebuilding. That was kind of dumb. Anyway, people didn't get excited about the Mage Tower, as in, like, it didn't really start blowing up until we got word that it was going to go away after the expansion is over. That's when all of a sudden social media was like, oh my God, we're doing it. We're slamming it. We're getting this because we want to get it done before it's gone. FOMO, right? That was the real FOMO. Got to get it done because never again, because it won't come back. We're gonna miss out on this chance to get a cool artifact, weapon effect, werebear sort of thing. And that's when I started seeing lots of chatter over the Mage Tower, and then lots of rage after it was gone. But before that, it was just a thing, just a scheduled thing that people just like, I'll get to it, whatever. But that's very anecdotal. We all felt differently about it for sure. But I think that's kind of the basis of what WoW's coming from, is to have an up and down time. I think I think it could be better, but I don't think it should be up all the time. And I'm right. I'm just kidding. 9.2 trinkets will be used on Mage Tower. New changes to Talent Rows on Tenno will impact the Mage Tower. There are players doing the Mage Tower without bear form or class trials. How many other community challenges could exist? Just like anything else. It's just like doing, it is just like anything else. But is that the reason why it should be up all the time? I don't think so. There are all sorts of people that do weird shit now for whatever reason they feel like, that other people would be like, what the hell are you doing? Oh, you're just fluxing. Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. 9.2 trinkets. I'm trying to think of which ones would be like decent. Well, I can't say because none of them are testable right now. I will brag though that my trinket usage for Mage Tower seems to be unique compared to what other folks have been doing. Like when I was doing the ret one, people were surprised, like, whoa, dude, this dude's using tanking trinkets for the ret thing, and it worked. I was like, you're damn right it worked, because I'm the best. Doing weird shit like Blood Gang. Yeah, like Blood Gang. Ah, man. Blood Gang is dope. People are used to being able to do it in an expansion or two after. Yeah, the thing is with Mage Tower, though, is that we're not going to be able to outgear it. For all we know, things might get worse. So, like the trinkets that I used were Legion, not Legion. I used Shadowlands trinkets for the most part. Other people have suggested using other trinkets, like from Legion or whatever, because reasons. 9.2 will introduce more, but that's it. It might, 9.2 trinkets might suck compared to Legion trinkets or 9.1 or whatever. We're not going to be able to outgear Mage Tower yet. You can't outgear the Mage Tower because it's going to scale, right? I would like to see new rewards added to the Mage Tower, though. But then they would need to spice it up too, because if it's the same reward, then my behavior is not going to change by much. I'm the type of gamer that is, when I'm presented with a challenge, I probably won't go out into the world and find the best in slot, the optimized thing, the stuff that sims the best, I'll be like, so what do I have on me? I got this and this. I'm going to work with what I got, and I'm going to try to make it, and I'm going to try to score a win. And sometimes I do. And that feels pretty dope. To not do the meta. But because of that, what can they do to the mage tower to spice things up? I mean, cool, new rewards, but I'm still going to do the fights kind of the same way that I did before. So is it going to feel that much more exciting? No. Unless they do like lots of balancing and things like that. But largely I'm still going to behave the same way. They'd have to do more than just introduce new gear to make it feel different. They'd have to change the fight. And I don't know how I'd feel about that. The whole point is to bring the mage tower back, but who knows? How about the balance? If it's not up all the time, the vocal community reporting bugs or things. Once developers change talents or classes, some challenges could become near impossible or easier. It should be up. It should be up all the time, or at least on the PTR. I definitely agree with having a better schedule. 18 weeks sucks. It sucks so bad. I've been saying 3 weeks. Have it up for every time walking event. It doesn't sound like a big deal. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a big deal. I like having personally, I like having a bit of frequency because it allows, honestly, it allows big crafting to set up shop and replenish their wares and get ready for the next time walking event so they can make that fat ass money. I think that's a really cool MMO RPG sort of thing to encourage the player economy. I feel like having it up all the time would disrupt the market to a point where supply would be adversely affected. Prices would feel inconsistent, and markets will stabilize somehow, some way. I just don't feel like there's a big value that's given for constant uptime. More frequent uptime, yes, but I think there's a diminishing return. There's an upper limit to that. And I think 3 weeks is so far that limit. I'm sure over time, more people will be finding ways to max out mage towers, gear and scaling. So if you get really stuck there will be guides on how to get an advantage. You're right about having a time walking up at all times. It just seems like it'd be unnecessary, I guess. I know it sounds, I know it comes off as like super shilly, right? It's like you're just trying to kiss, brown nose Blizzard and, say things that they would like. Yeah, because they watch my shit. Right. I just feel like it's reasonable and all that. Holy crap. It is seriously half an hour until we're done. Man, time flew so fast. Holy shit. Here I was. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to test stuff. Oh, come on. Come on, video game. Show up. There we go. Senior 3 hours just talking shit. That's why I love doing this shit. That's why we're just chatting. Well, not anymore, but just chat. This is where I get the fun. It's amazing because I get way more folks coming in and sticking around when I'm just talking, when I'm just shooting the breeze and whatever. A lot of people don't like it when I just play the game. I wonder after the Mage Tower was a success, if Blizzard will implement another form of expansion stuff during Time Walking events. No good examples come to mind, but I'm sure most expansions have some liked features that can be used that way. You know what sucks is that getting the Mage Tower back was a nice plus, but what really I felt a hole that with there not being a Brawlers Guild in this expansion. Kind of sucks. Brawlers Guild was whimsical, it was fun, it was just wacky. It gave us shirts. So I don't mind that we got something. We got the Mage Tower. And now it's evergreen. So now it's just going to be, hey, let's just tweak this thing and have it up. What's it called? The thing. Brawlers Guild, though, they tend to try to do new stuff with that. The times that it's come around, and I want to see that come back. So, but yeah, Monarch has something on the money there. Like, in terms of time walking things to revive, Warfriends would be a pretty high candidate, for a BFA time walking. I think time walking Warfriends would be dope. I would dig that. I would dig having a recolor of some of that Horde and Alliance gear that you get though. There will be a 925 though. Are you sure? I can see a 925 if there needs to be a 925, right? Because there was technically an 835, but it didn't add anything to it. It just 8.2 was it. That was, if I recall, that was the end of the road. Wait, when did they do the corruption vendor, actually? Yeah. How did the corruption vendor happen? WoW patch 8.3. Okay, so there's an 8.3. I was saying my numbers wrong. I kept saying 8.2, 8.3. I was confusing myself there. Yeah, I think the corruption vendor was a hotfix. Yeah. Looks like they were hotfixes. I liked corruption, but I didn't like how broken it got. The Shadowlands story is coming to a close, but not the end of the expansion. We're going to have something in Azeroth for 925. They did not say that we're going to have a 925. I think that's the clearest way to put it. So we don't know. They might move on to like the new thing. Like I said, 8.3 didn't introduce. There was no 8.3. There was no 835 patch. So who's to say that there's going to be a 925 patch? The thing that was like the new story back then was, oh, we're going to have the book, Rising Shadows, whatever it's called. Hotfixes for player power. Yeah. Curses. Okay, so anyway, I'll take the rest of the time here to kind of fuck around a little bit because I wanted to mess around with some of the interactions of this double legendary thing works and the tier gear and all that stuff. So first thing I want to test out is this one. I haven't had a chance yet. Magistrate's Judgment. Judgment has a 45% chance to reduce the cost of your next holy power spender by 1. Now, the 4-piece bonus of this gear says that blocking an attack has a 33% chance to cast Judgment on your attacker. So the theory is, if I block, will it proc this legendary? Because if it does, then this gives me basically more free holy power every 1 second because I do know that whenever I do block this 4-piece bonus does generate holy power. If it also procs this, then that's like it generating another holy power. So that lets me just shield smash the shit out of everything. Now, I don't know if it's optimal because there's like another legendary that makes my Shield of the Righteous like way stronger, but I just want to fuck around and try this out. For example, they said they're working on some heritage armors. That's a 925 thing. They could save that for 10.0 as well. If that's all they're if that's the big thing that they're implementing for 10.0 or for 925, then why not, you know, what's stopping them from making it a 10.0 thing instead? All right, so I'm just gonna wait and see if this buff appears. I think that's all I need to do. Oh shit, it does. Oh my god. Oh, I didn't even know it stacks twice. That's amazing. So that means my Shield of the Righteous should only cost one, I think. So that should only cost 2. Oh shit. Oh, this is dope. Okay, I like this. I like this already. I like this interaction. Cool. Set bonus plus whatever equals sex. Okay. All right, let me find a pack. Let me find a pack of buddies. Heritage armor was mentioned during the last BlizzCon Online Q&A before 9.1 and 9.15. I don't know. They think they're not going to introduce new ones until 10.0. I mean, remember how pissed off people got when that one dude was like, "Oh yeah, we're not going to have any new cosmetics or not cosmetics, customization for the rest of the expansion." You know, that definitely tells me that they intended to, you know, that they're trying to not cut their losses, but do whatever they need to do to keep up production, which meant, oh shit, where's my Divine Toll? No, Divine Toll. Okay, so just how stupid does this get? I'm definitely throwing out a lot more shields. So a lot more shields. And I have the right thing, right? Okay, I got Mechanicos going. Cool. So my Shield of the Righteous uptime is definitely like pretty much maxed out. Or I feel like I can have like pretty much 100% uptime, even on a single target. And that's when about customization literally made me stop playing WoW for like 6 months. It was really discouraging because, you know, we were excited at first and, you know, understandably with everything that was going on, you know, it's something that I could understand, but boy, the way that it was shut down like that had no tact. So yeah, we're not going to do anything, right? And I'm sure like there was like this collective groan throughout the planet, like, wow, that's great. Oh, you think this is going to be a fun detective thing? It could be. For now, though, I'll take it. For now, I'm happy. You're lucky they don't give an F about this game. I was like, well, if they had to skimp on something, that would be one thing to do. Like, imagine if we didn't have to deal with fucking COVID and all that stuff. We'd probably have, you know, there would be a much higher likelihood that we would have heritage armor and additional customization that, you know, we started to see in 9.15, and we're going to see a little bit more in 9.2, I think. But we probably would have, you know, the team probably would have had the ability to do more of that stuff sooner. Oh, I can't glide. Ah! Okay, let's fight these guys. See how it feels here. Oh, yeah. Okay, and boom, and boom. Okay, so I got, what's my block chance? Block chance is at 56% right now. So I'm blocking a lot of shit. I'm gonna try a different legendary though. From a straight mitigation or maybe a progression standpoint, I think this would be like I think this combo works out really, really well. Like, cause I'm spending so much holy power, which lets me have my Avenging Wrath come off cooldown like way faster. So there's a lot to like this about this, I think. I do want to see more customizations though. I want to see tons more options. I somehow doubt that we're going to see like a slider of sorts. I feel like that would involve like an entire revamp of how all that shit works. So I have my doubts on it, but I would like to see, all sorts of more shit. Let's see. I'll use. It was this one. Avenger Shield increases the damage of my next Shield of the Righteous by 30%, which is a lot. So I think this one is probably DPS wise the better if not the best one to use. So I'll start off by doing kind of a bigger pull. Just get whatever. Hi guys. Okay. And then I'll hit that, and then I'll do like super shields and shit. And I'll get stunned. That's cool. But then there's not really like much interaction with the set bonus. Like, it's just cool. I get, well, no. Okay, there's no interaction with the set bonus, but there's definitely interaction with the two legendaries. Because I'm throwing more shields for free. I'm getting all these shield procs and stuff, and I'm just doing like way more damage. And it has a bigger radius. So like, hey, go me. But which one feels more fun to me though? I guess big numbers are fun. Hi, dude with a rifle. So today I do plan on finishing and probably publishing that video on best in slot for outdoor content. Ooh, this is different. A glimmer of animation. Cute. Actually, Shield of the Righteous didn't do as much damage as I thought. Huh. Wait, 5 casts? That doesn't sound right. I did way more than 5 casts, buddy. It's madness that WoW as an MMO doesn't have tons of customization. I think it's just I see it as just the way that the game was built. It was just, that was the foundation it was built on. This was back in the day when sliders weren't a thing, and they haven't evolved from it, unfortunately. I kind of miss the days when pulling more than 2 mobs was really dangerous and made the world feel way less like a cakewalk. I feel like it's part of, like I said it a while back, but I think it's part of the whole power fantasy of, I'm a champion of Azeroth. I should not have trouble with, a bunch of these mobs. Now, keep in mind, I'm a tank too, and I have a pretty extensive toolkit, and I'm armed with PTR gear and other madness. And I kind of know what I'm doing on this class. Kind of. But yeah. 14 has that, and after playing it, I can safely say that I don't miss that at all. Miss what, Bernard? Dun, dun, dun. They could have like 5% size scaling for the character model overall, like slightly smaller or bigger. That I can agree with. Like just straight up size, sure, but that's all you really be able to do. But we also need to consider hitbox size and things like that. You don't want to get it you don't want to make it too weird. So I guess when you're saying 5%, that's, that doesn't sound so bad. Because yeah, we have toys that do this, that do all these sorts of functions. Change the size, make everything all weird and crazy and shit. All right, let's try again with this shield, because I thought I was doing a lot of damage. I thought I was doing a lot of damage. So I'm doing kind of a cleaner pull. Let's see if this makes any difference. I guess it's weird because I need to change my rotation a little bit. Change it so that I'm throwing out my shield. Definitely throw out my shield after every time I throw a Avenger shield. And that's how you see like the fires like shooting out and stuff, and the effect looks really cool. Given praise on like a year-old legendary. All right. Like, I wouldn't be able to do this on my mage. For sure. I wouldn't know what the fuck to do. I wouldn't have the skill for it. Okay, so this time shield of okay, I guess I was doing something wrong earlier. There are several bugs going on in the PTR right now where things just aren't working. like legendaries sometimes don't there are instances where sometimes things don't work. But I think this is a kind of a better indicator of how we're doing here. Welcome back, Necro. Shield looks cool. Yeah, this is a gladiator shield, I think. Yeah, transmogged into the Cosmic Gladiator's Guard. Any predictions on info for the next expansion at this point, April? I think within the next 6 weeks we're gonna get an expansion announcement. Within 6 weeks. So yeah. But they're not gonna do it they're not gonna try to one up the 9.2 launch. I think they want to try to keep that hype a little high. Based on the testing, they gave us the advanced test schedule, which I think is pretty cool. I think thanks to that, it kind of gives us a better idea as to, how close we are to launch. We could probably look historically at how some of those numbers worked out and give a timeline. Okay, based on how they finished raid testing, this long ago, now we have an idea of this. That could be a thing. I guess since I still end up throwing so many judgments and shields of the righteousnesses, that maybe it's not a big deal for me to use that, that thing that gives me the holy power discount. I think that feels unnecessary. I think this is going to be the way to go more than anything, because fuck, it's strong. Which means I think I need to change the way I do my conduits too, I think. So here, how did this one go? Yep, smash. And then what about my healing? Does it matter really? Nope. Yeah, my bubbles smashed. Oh, stop it. Go away. Recount. Okay. Wasn't Shadowlands announced before 8.3? Yes. Yes, it was. It announced before it launched, but I think we got word of what 8.3 was going to be before that. They're not doing a BlizzCon line this year, right? No, they're not going to do a BlizzCon line. So they're kind of liberated. They can announce whenever they want. They can kind of do what they did one year, where they'll say, "Hey, everyone, stay tuned next week for an awesome announcement." And then, like, next week, it was like, "We're not going to announce because Black Lives Matter. So we'll be back in a month to talk about stuff." Yeah, that was the 9/1 announcement, if I recall that correctly. Yeah, that was the thing. So will the 9.2 come out before the 10.0 reveal based on your prediction? No. I have a feeling it's going to be very close to around that time. So I'm going to say 2 weeks before 9.2 launches, or a little bit after the Sylvanas book is out. Something like that. So that's really far. I'm leaning towards earlier. Typically we've heard about the next expansion before the final patch. And I'm going to go with that historical consistency. Jailer's Gauntlet's closed. I wanted to check that out. Damn. I wonder if they'll do like a YouTube stream announcement or something. Yeah. I mean, where else would they do it? Fucking Vivo or some other video. They're gonna reveal it via TikTok. Snapchat shit. Check out the revival of MySpace, guys. We got a new World of Warcraft announcement. A Tumblr announcement. There you go. Oh, they'll just do it on Twitter. They're gonna have the brand new trailer on Twitter Resolution. Hell yeah, baby. They're gonna put it on YouTube. Easily. They'll put it on YouTube for all to enjoy and to revile or whatever. Okay, so I don't think I made other legendaries. I'd have to make more. But what else would I want to try? Along with Shield Gang. Just put the... It's just... You just see a Blizzard... No. You get a Blizzard... You get a whisper from BLIZZURD that talks about the announcement. Oh, that'd be hilarious. That would be fucking hilarious. Just curious, I know you probably don't follow, but did you see the Riot Games article about giving people 25% salary to leave if they do not like the studio's direction? That's weird. That's so weird. I mean, I've seen instances where, a tech company will be like, "Hey, we're going to downsize, but the first thing we're going to do is offer early retirement and stuff like that." I mean, this is different, but if you don't like the studio's direction, we will give you a quarter your salary and leave. Yeah, that's new direction. Okay. I don't know what to make of that. But obviously, I did not see that. So, how far do you think Blizzard is with developing the next expansion? Far enough to indicate that they skipped 9.3. I have a feeling that, the real 9.2 was scrapped. That's my take on it. And that they decided to scrap it early. And then they started to work on all of this. It's interesting and weird. But anyway, I wasn't flying around. I was looking at Power Seas. Okay. Your Avenger Shield has a 35% chance to have its cooldown instantly reset when used. Oh, you know what? That's something I think I want to try out. No, that'd be weird. That would have really, really weird timing. So what I was thinking was when I fire off my fan of shields, the legendary will fire a free shield every couple seconds or so, every 5 seconds. The thing that I would be testing for is if my Avenger shield happens to be on cooldown, does the free shield that comes from this legendary, does that proc this? And I think that's too much of an overlap, because between that and my Grand Crusader proc or whatever it's called, I'm getting a bunch of free shields anyway. So I don't think this would be a very good legendary to have. Not compared to Righteous Fury. This shit slaps. Or backhands. You know, shield, backhand, get it? Ha, clever. I really tried. It's pretty obvious with how they set up time gating in Raid. Sorry, what are you talking about, Platycus? Okay, when I drop below 20% health, boring. Blessing of Freedom is boring. Of Dusk and Dawn is not cool enough. Magistrates is interesting because, you know, like I said, it interacts with the set bonus. I could see this being a ret thing, but I don't know what the ret things are anyway, so fuck do I know. Spending Holy Power gives you 1 haste per finisher. So, well, that's just 5% haste. I'm good on haste. Hammer of Wrath. So for Kyrian, I think I've probably made my decision with Bulwark. But with other covenants, with other covenants, I can definitely see, like for Venthyr, Mad Paragon feels like a gimme for sure. Because I'm going to have a Ashen Hollow that lasts for 45 seconds. And then for 45 seconds, I'm chucking hammers of Rathases at dudes. And, and maintaining my shit. It doesn't interact. This doesn't really interact with the set bonus at all, though. It's just, if I want just superpowers in Ashen Hollow, then if I'm Venthyr, Mad Paragon feels like the way to go, because there's a pretty clear relationship here. What about the others? What about these things that I don't see really anybody use? I wonder if these will be any good. I'm saying the time gating in Raid is set up so they can incorporate more story into a single raid, as in skip the original 9.2. 9.2. It could be, because I see it like they planned this from the start, or they probably abandoned 9.2 early on. So there could have been 9.2 could have been just Anduin as the final raid boss of whatever the fuck is in 9.2. And then 9.3 is the jailer. It could have been like that. You said the time gating, and I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? 1 week gives them the time to make another expansion or whatever? No. But I think I know what you're saying. All right. So the generics. So I'm interacting with Fan of Shields. So I haven't gone through this in a while, so I forgot. Your spells and abilities have a low chance to summon a spiritual familiar to your side. That's boring. No, I'm good. Dealing damage has a high chance to release a blast of spiritual energy for shadow damage. If another ally, I want to think that this is cool. I want this to be cool. I want to tell my guild, I will give all of you the gold that you need, or I will provide you all the resources to make this legendary. I demand a raid full of people with this legendary. And we will try to make this work. Too bad it doesn't do healing, because if it did, then I'd be like, all right, the whole guild is gonna be, we're gonna go blood gang. Gonna be a no from me, dog. You coward. That's because you're across server, dude. If you were in the guild, I would shove this shit down your throat, and you will love it. This one does not do healing. Nope, boring. Casting a spell grants to get nope. Sefus reduce the effectiveness of nope. Third eye nope. Nope. Vitality sacrifice. Nope. Maw nope. And we're done. Damn it. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I'm pretty much limited. I guess Ardent Protector's thing. This is the survival legendary for sure. Like, if I don't know the encounters, don't spoil me. Don't tell me with a good time. You guy. Unless the encounters have like some super crazy thing, I'm probably not going to need this legendary. I have one, and I think it's in the wrist slot right now because it's a good idea. Rain kind of sucks. Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, so Bulwark, Magistrates, and Ardent Protectors thingamajigger. So, and I think I'm okay. So like the Magistrates thing will take up the wrists. I'm cool with that. Bulwark will take up the shoulder. Ideally. But if I never fucking see tier, or if I run into a tier conflict, then I'll settle for the finger. I'll settle for the finger. And then if I'm desperate, then I'll switch to Ardent Protector thingamajigger. That's and if I happen to be Venthyr, which I'll hardly ever be, then I'll go Mad Paragon. Yeah. Yeah, that'll work out. And it's 12 already. Fuck. Damn, time is just... Time is flying today, dude. I just noticed that my Zandalari troll doesn't make faces when using the selfie cam. Oh, that sucks. Imagine going absolutely batshit crazy and allowing players to make a full set of legendary gear. Time is fleeting. Yeah, it sure is. Yeah, what would I make if I could have everything? I actually wouldn't feel all that super overpowered. I'd have free shields. My shield bash is like dope. I have a short cooldown on my Ardent Defender. My Guardian can auto proc. I just have a flat damage buff here. This one still sucks. I wouldn't use it anyway. Stuff costs less holy power. I have 5% more haste, OMG. And my Avenging Wrath lasts about 6 or 7 seconds longer. And I have Phantom Shields. I mean, and I'm probably overlapping stuff, so I'm probably gonna have to pick and choose between some of these as well. But if we could use everything, then I would still, tell everyone, yeah, Judgment of the Arbiter, everyone's using it. Everyone's gonna have a free slot for it. Fuck you. Instead of tier sets just full of legendaries. That'd be hilarious. And people would be pissed. Be like, oh, well, God, Blizz. We wanted tier sets and you just give us these borrowed powers that are going to expire after whatever. Anyway. Tier of Legos. Tegos. Tiergendaries. Legend tier. Legend tieries. Sorry, I do that in my head and sometimes I share. But... I want to thank everyone for what was a really fun show. We got to talk a lot of smack about a little bit of everything, and fun as always. This show will be uploaded tomorrow. Yesterday's show will be uploaded shortly. And that's it for now. Expect a video on the main channel that talks about the gears, where I describe, what can casual folk do? The people who don't raid or do Mythic Plus or do any of that stuff. What kind of fun are they going to have in 8.9.2 with all these gearing options and possibilities? I'll share my thoughts on that. And that's it. Have a good one. I'll see you guys for the next thing. Until then, though, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay present. Yeah.